Welcome to the Two Guys, One Track podcast with your host, Cody and Justin.
All right, what's up, everybody? I am Cody.
And I'm Justin. What's
and
happening?
we are back with the Two Guys, One Track podcast on another lovely Thursday.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And what are we talking about today, Justin?
Something we've been talking about for a while.
The
too.
glory.
Yeah, the era that I think was the last pivotal era for rock
Agreed.
would have been the 1970s.
The 70s. Oh. And specifically rock. I mean, that's kind of where we're leaning on. But we'll talk about some other things, too,
absolutely.
with it. But
Yeah.
this is where we're getting into what we like.
Yeah.
We're going to start talking about more of what we like.
Well, I think it's safe to say for me, and I think even for you a little bit, too, because I kind of know you.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
I would say, that's fair
I
to
think
say.
this kind of pulls out it's that where me and you get our core foundation.
Yes.
So it's
Well, really, the roots of our playing. You
yeah,
could say,
that's
if you want to get right down to it.
That's
yeah.
it. You know,
Yeah.
it's the stuff we started playing when we started playing an instrument, and we're still playing it. To
Yeah,
this day.
There's certain riffs. Whole lot of love. I play it every time I pick my guitar
man.
up.
Which
Every
I
time.
mean, you think about it with this era, right? And we're gonna call it an era because that's what it is.
It is.
You don't know very many musicians that
Right.
don't have a core backbone. Just they've got something they can pull out of nowhere, and it's from the 70s.
Yes, 100%.
It's like, oh yeah, and some guys, some groups, they go out there and this is classic rock.
Oh.
This is
100%
classic
to me.
rock.
When that's said, classic rock, I think 70s up into the mid-80s. That's what I think of.
Yeah,
right
absolutely.
in that pocket.
And I think there's still very, very good bands out there.
Mm-hmm.
This is their bread and butter. This is all
100%.
they do. And the people that come to see them, I mean, wow.
Well, look, if you ask anybody touring today, I don't care what genre they're in, they're going to draw inspiration from these group
Oh,
of people
absolutely.
we're going to be talking
And they
about.
even drop them in their shows.
Oh, yeah, all the time. I mean, every week it seems like you're seeing some hip-hop artist cover some rock thing or, like, just pay a tribute to this or that.
Would you say it's safe? Because I really don't know. I'm asking. Are there a lot of people right now on, like, mainstream throwing back to stuff from the 70s doing covers?
I see a lot of it, yeah.
There's a lot of covers or at least sampling being done
I was
of
gonna
it.
say sampling's obviously the number one these
Really?
days, I would say.
Good.
Yeah. But, like, you see guys like Post Malone's one that does it. He'll pluck a bunch of old, odd 70s songs out.
He's got
and
that
cover
rock.
'em. And, yeah,
He's got that rock backbone
I
anyway.
call him like a switchblade army knife. That guy can do a little bit of
Yeah,
everything,
he
it
can.
seems like. But, yeah, I see that a lot. Or, like, Greta Van Fleet. What are they?
Oh, God.
What are they?
They're
right?
Zeppelin, yeah.
We've talked about them before.
Even
but
Zeppelin said there's
100%, yeah.
okay.
Yeah, when you got Plant saying, I hate them because they're us.
Yeah.
That's a pretty good compliment to me.
Yeah. What did he say? He said they're like, he goes, they're Zeppelin too.
Yes, Zeppelin to a T, he said.
So it's, and that, what a compliment, right? What a compliment.
I mean, talk about something make your hair stand up,
And
dude.
I mean,
that's it.
When you get someone that's that influential that's paying you compliments, if you're not checking out what those folks are doing and how they're doing it, you're missing the train.
Dude.
Because there's, I admitted the last time we had our podcast, I didn't spend too much time with Greta Van Fleet.
Yeah.
And I get that. I spent some time with Greta Van Fleet after that. And I'll tell you what, that's no
wild.
joke. They are, the
It's pretty
vocals, the instrumentals, where they go with it, it's like, oh,
wow.
If that's not Zeppelin, I don't know
You know what I'm
is.
saying?
You know, but they constantly, if I'm not, I may be wrong here, but I thought I'd heard they constantly are like, we're not Zeppelin.
All the
we're
time.
not trying to be
Yes.
Zeppelin.
Yeah,
we're
yeah.
just doing our thing.
That's
we
their
just
whole
happen
thing.
to sound
It
like
just
Zeppelin.
ended up being that we are, yeah.
Buddy, if you weren't trying to do it, that's one hell
Yeah,
of a coincidence.
you know what I'm
'cause,
saying?
Man.
Well, same as that guy they got for the Freddie Mercury biopic. It's
yeah.
like, how could you not, when you sound like that,
Yeah.
just talking? Like, you sound like Freddie.
He looks like him too, doesn't he?
He does. It's weird.
Yeah.
It's pretty weird.
Yeah. He
Yeah.
looks like he's like a more muscular version of him.
A little bit like beefed up or something.
Yeah.
Yep. But no, that's what I like about this whole era. Is just like it breeds everything we know now. Oh my goodness! Especially like all the sounds and different effects that came into play.
Yeah.
just
That's
everywhere.
a great point too.
Everywhere.
Absolutely. It seems like in the 70s. Well, we know why, but in the 70s, I think that they tried all that incorporation of the new stuff, the new sounds, the new techniques, trying stuff with the instrument. We talked about that with the psychedelic rock.
Oh, yes.
There's things that are...
that kind of played to a lot of the sounds in this whole era, really, if you think about it.
And I think the version of psychedelic, so obviously it died when, Hendrix and Joplin and all them, when they died, it kind of went...
Yes.
But the things that they learned as they went, then they incorporated it, and you started seeing the subgenres start to get established. And that's where it gets really good.
That's what I like, too, because then you're getting an artist that's had inspiration from 8 people instead of just maybe an old blues guy.
Or he's figured it out in his basement.
Exactly. Well, like, you can't talk to a guitarist. Yeah, right? You can't talk to a guitarist that didn't draw inspiration from Hendrix. Like, you cannot talk about guitars without talking about Page and Hendrix, man. Like, that's it.
Yeah, when guys go on those crazy solos and it's kind of like, there was a guy that started doing. Now there was a lot of guitarists that did it, and there's a lot of guitarists out there. I mean, we look at country music guitarists too that are insane.
Oh, Chad Atkins, bro,
good
freaking monster.
I mean the original. Like old school country artist.
Chad Atkins is.
Is he? Okay, I don't know. I didn't know who it is. Yeah. So okay.
Roy Clark.
Roy Clark's who I'm thinking of.
Roy Clark's amazing.
That guy.
He did that cover of Johnny Cash, and he's literally making train noises and lighting people up.
And I can never say it, and pardon me for our Spanish-speaking folks. The Malagueña.
Yeah, I won't try to say it, but yes.
Holy crap.
Yeah.
I've heard that song done several times, and I listen to a lot of drum corps, so there's been several bands. Madison Scouts go crazy because they're Spanish themed. Mm-hmm. They have been for a long time. I don't know if that's their intention, but they always seem to hop back to that because they're very good at it.
Oh yeah.
And they've played that tune numerous times, and it's so good. The horns and everything.
Yeah.
When he does it, you're like the same goosebumps that you get when you listen to that. Yeah. You get when you listen to Roy Clark do it. So there's guys that have been out there that have been influential to doing that. I think the thing was, and Roy Clark could have been, the guy was on TV all the time.
Yep.
He was even on Carson and all those other, he's huge.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
And he was a big man. Too.
He was.
He was not
small.
He
was. No.
But
he was on TV shows.
Oh, everywhere, dude.
He was a major music star, but he was a country artist. And I think,
which I don't think people realize how prominent country probably was at the time. Like
that's what I'm trying to get to.
Mainstream.
Yeah,
like,
that's what I'm trying to get to.
Yeah.
They had, I think, just as much of a kick in the game
as
anybody.
Yeah, well, they were getting all the notoriety and all the attention.
Of
just
course.
The same. It was just in different venues.
And I think country. I'm not a huge country person.
Me neither.
I've dabbled. Especially in the 90s, I dabbled
a
lot.
That's where 90s is where my core of my country music comes from, for sure.
A little bit in the 80s, but mostly the 90s. Yep. I think it's safe to say, in my opinion, that country has had, we're going to say had.
Yeah, because it's not what it was.
Had one hell of a following. And they still do.
Oh, yeah.
They still do. Don't get me wrong. They still do. Country music is probably one of the larger genres still out there.
They say it's like, like on the scale of things, like still the fastest growing venue.
I wouldn't doubt that at all.
And I'm assuming because of all these small artists that pop
there
up
it
everywhere.
Is. It seems like every week there's somebody new.
Well, there's like one guy I watched called Ryan Upchurch, and he came out of nowhere just making songs in his
heard
closet,
his name.
And now he's got gold records, and the whole thing just based on doing stuff what we're doing right here.
It blew up.
Yep.
Good for him. That's great.
But yeah, that's what's interesting about that genre versus others. I suppose it's harder to make it in rock, like as a solo artist, without a band backing. You know what I mean? Like country, you got a guitar and whatever.
You got to be good.
Nashville will throw everything else behind you.
But you got to be multifaceted. You got to be multi-talented by far. You don't have to be a one-man band.
Look at like Luke Combs. You want to talk about fucking
talent?
Chris Stapleton. You want to talk about fucking talent? Oh my god!
Interestingly enough, he was more of the writing side of it. He didn't want to play.
No, not at all.
And they finally convinced him, and everybody's like, "What are you doing?"
Boy, thankfully they did,
what
huh?
What are you doing? Play.
Oh my gosh,
this guy's got pipes.
Yeah,
man, and what a singer-songwriter.
Oh, he's amazing. Word. I just saw this clip of him at a Tyler Perry show. Like he was just in the crowd, and they handed him the mic, and he sang Tennessee Whiskey, and the whole crowd was singing with him, dude.
Yep. That's when you know you've done something.
Yeah,
right. Even if that's the one thing he ever does.
Oh, that's
it.
Yep.
And I know he's done a ton more since. But so the 70s. With that, I think that we always talk about where rock comes from.
Yes.
And rock is that smorgasbord, if you will, of these different genres. Yep. And country fits right in there. They
Blues,
are
jazz,
also
country.
exactly
It's like right in that.
It fits
sweet
right in
little
there.
Pocket.
Yep. So with the 70s, I think it's interesting that what's the biggest genre in the 70s? Disco.
Oh God, yes, by far.
Disco comes
and
out
bounds.
and it's just you get Euro
Abigold.
disco. Yeah. you get Euro disco that comes out with it, and it all kind of combines into
got, like,
one.
Saturday Night Fever and like all
that's
that
a big
stuff.
inspiration.
Yes.
So as soon as Saturday Night Fever drops, it goes nuts.
Yep.
Places that are just bars now turn into discos, and that's where they go. That's where the Suits come in. That's where the music comes in. You get Bee Gees. You get all these other guys that are coming out. But the interesting part about the 70s that I noted, or that when in the readings I found that I think is really interesting. Soft rock got softer.
Oh yeah.
Hard rock got harder.
Definitely.
So
people were kind of leaning into it.
Exactly.
I guess you could say. Yeah.
Yes. Pop got poppier.
Yeah, because really, if you look at Black Sabbath's first album and then you look at their second album, they got a little faster, a little harder, a little heavier, a little meaner. Yeah. Yeah. No, that's true. That's very,
they went
very
a little
true.
more hardcore, right?
And, everybody always faults it because, like, when we did our 60s episode, we really didn't talk about Sabbath that much. But they became a band in the late 60s, but they didn't
70s, they
damage till the 70s.
Yeah,
that's when they started really
they
getting
got
out there and doing work.
They got crazy. And interestingly enough, the rock music was more like Western culture.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It didn't really gravitate or get into, I think, that European theater because they were engraved in disco.
Canada was pretty big on rock back in the day. Like,
Rush?
they liked it. Yes. And,
yeah.
There's a few others that came out of there, too.
Yeah, absolutely.
That were coming across the American airwaves that they were digging. I watched some documentary about that, too. But, like, it was like the unspoken love of Canada's love for classic rock that no one knows.
Yeah.
You got all these guys like April Wine and different bands.
But that makes sense if you think about it.
Oh, yeah.
I could definitely see the Canadians being rockers.
Dude, if you like hockey and that much booze, you're going to like rock. Like, that just fucking makes sense.
Yeah, they go hand in hand, right?
Yes. Yeah. Well, what's the song in every hockey game? Fucking We Will Win. Yeah, it's fucking Queen.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah. That's so true.
Yep.
They are. You don't hear. Well, I guess you could hear, and you probably do hear.
Oh, yeah.
Other than rock at hockey games.
Sure.
But that's kind of
pretty commonplace.
I've always been told, and from a guy that helps with a hockey team.
Yeah.
He does scoreboard and all that stuff, and his brother runs the box and the whole 9 yards. That their main goal when they come up with music selection, because he's using the music too, is that it's stadium rockers.
Exactly.
That's all they look for is stadium
Yeah,
rockers.
man.
That's it. They want people pumped up.
And that's what everybody likes.
Yeah.
Like, that's just one thing everybody can get along with. You play Back in Black.
Oh.
At least 9 out of 10 people are like bobbing their head at least. You know what I mean?
At least. Yep.
Everyone's
Absolutely.
All right. Okay.
Absolutely. So, with that, I think for the 70s, I mean, we could go on a rampage and probably name 500 artists and stuff like that.
For days.
But I think for me, I'd like to break down kind of some of the subgenres.
Absolutely.
Because I think like we talked about when we first started talking, I think that, you get to the mid-70s especially, you really start seeing the differentials.
Oh, it breaks.
You really start getting
big time.
The subgenres start getting.
Even if you look at the tour bills from the early 70s and then look at them later, the bands that were touring early did not tour later. It was very different.
Yep. That's a great point. Yep. Pop got big in the 70s. Sorry, I just got sidetracked here. I wanted to throw it in. They had a genre in Africa or Nigeria known as Afrobeat. It was throughout the 70s, was very popular. Latin America and all of them.
Always has some slappers coming out of there.
It got popularity from the hippie movement.
Oh, yeah.
Which is interesting.
That's fascinating.
Yep. Japan saw a decade of a lot of pop music, folk music, and rock music, disco.
Weirdly, there's a lot of metal fans in Japan of like 80s
Yeah, there
metals.
are.
Remember that band Anvil? Those weird dudes. You remember them?
I think so.
Their lead singer would wear like a strap on stage.
Oh,
Like you can't
God.
forget them. But they were one of those.
So
that,
they were
like,
unique. You're telling
yes.
me? Yeah. Okay.
They like fell out, and I watched this movie about them a couple months ago. They started in the 70s as well, but they ended up doing nothing here, and then they did this random reunion tour in Japan. Sold out every fucking show. Japan loved them.
Wow. You know what that's interesting about that, though? There's a lot of rock bands when they go overseas.
Oh, dude.
They're sold out when as soon as they set the bill.
Don't you remember, like, okay, so back in the day on sitcoms in, like, the early 90s, you'd have, like, you know, the Beach Boys would be on Full House, or, like, you'd have shit like that.
Yeah.
But it was always a plot line that the person in the show ended up in Japan on tour. Like, that was the thing. Like, the second you hit Japan, you did it.
You made it.
Yeah, I think that used to be, like, a set standard or something.
And I think here, too, in that time frame, so we're talking 70s, 80s, even 90s, and those time frames when you did a show and you were an established band and you did a show overseas, and I mean just hop in the pond. It doesn't have to be Japan, right? They were stadium shows.
Oh yeah, big.
They
Huge.
were 70,000 plus.
Yep.
So I mean, and it seems like, and the thing is, that's what's nuts, that those are the sellouts in minutes.
Well, even today, it's like Chile and Argentina is where all the big shows are.
Rio, they go
watch
nuts.
a clip of like Pantera a couple weeks ago
playing
Chile. Oh, my goodness.
They go nuts.
Like, if they're fans.
A little bit. But I think it's interesting. It kind of makes you wonder, too, and we're getting a little off track, but that's okay. I think to them, those areas of the world, I think music has a lot different meaning.
Has more value.
Exactly.
Yes, that's what I was going
to say, too. It has core value to them because their histories are written in music
100%.
in a lot of them. And so I think that's something, this is personal opinion, but I think that's just something that they gravitate to more. They make
100%.
more time, and they're willing to invest more in the shows to go do. And I have to wonder this, too. I've never known, because obviously I've never been overseas and seen a show, but I wonder what their tickets cost.
I've been curious about that my entire life.
You know what I mean?
Like, what's it cost to see somebody at the O2 or something like that?
You know,
I'm
sure
in,
capitalism isn't the main concern when they do their stadium tour out of states.
Well, and by the bounds of people you see there, you got to assume it's got to be somewhat reasonable.
You'd think.
Yeah.
You know, especially when, it's 70,000 people that are standing room only, and there's no standing room. And
dude.
But those bands are going ear to ear, because even if they charged $5,
it's
take that by 70,000 people and
add the merch,
we'll divvy it between maybe
that
15.
Yeah.
But absolutely, and they're getting cuts
great.
for other stuff. But it's got to be
amazing.
But I think that would be really cool to go to one of those shows like that with that many people.
Well, you know why? Because you're in a place with a completely different language, and it doesn't fucking matter because you know the language you need to when you're singing the songs with those people. I think that would be the cool thing.
And we've always talked about music is a singular language, right? So I keep saying I think it would be neat to go see a show with 70,000 people, and then I realize it, and it really hits you, and you go, oh, God, it would be horrible for a little bit.
I did 25,000 at Warped Tour when A Day to Remember did the surprise set, and I'll never do that again on standing feet. I had to get out of there. Yeah,
too many people.
The heat.
I can't even assume. Well, that's why when you see those and they do the camera shots, people are soaked.
Oh, dude.
It ain't water.
And, the people against the barrier up in the front, shout out to them. They are
soaked.
idiots, dude. That's got to be the most miserable
dedication
day.
right
Oh,
there.
Yeah.
But you know what?
Man.
I think they got something. They misery through it.
Oh, yeah.
Because they got something to talk about
that's like the one
forever.
time a year when you're like, all right, I'm going to do this.
Yep.
Get out the catheter.
Can I do it in the
We're
fall?
Gonna send it. Yeah, no kidding. Give me a breezy fucking September afternoon.
Absolutely. Which can still get very warm.
Of course.
So the 70s, bands that you obviously everybody knows. You got British acts, you've got Canadian acts, you've got a lot of
Southern rockers starting to show
absolutely. Yes, big time.
Breaking off into those subcategories like we're talking about.
So we talked about it. Psychedelics it's kind of phased out now. Right at 70, 71, it starts to kind of dip itself out a little bit. People are starting to get that. The Beatles broke up in this 1970s. So now it kind of leaves room for, I think there were some folks that were pioneering and they were on everything.
Oh, yeah.
And they were either gone or broke up.
Yep.
So it led for other people to pop in that had been doing the garage bands or the small shows.
Oh, yeah. You had these people like the Yardbirds that broke up and Cream and, different groups that formed off of that.
Yep. And like we talked about, Hendrix, Joplin, and Morrison are gone.
Yep.
So Doors is done, and that's probably the worst part about it. That's the unfortunate part. Sid Barrett is out of Pink Floyd, and so things are changing big time.
Yeah,
I think
you're starting
for the
to
radio side, especially.
Well, and especially because now some of these groups have been together half a decade, so they've got kind of a history going.
They've got to reinvent now too,
yeah,
right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and you have to see, okay, what's next? How do we keep the attention? And you've got a lot of people that started out sounding one way and ended up sounding
now they're changing.
completely different way.
And here's the thing, too. I think with that being said, I think you get so many other these new acts that end up being just stardom afterwards.
Yeah.
That come in, and they're still trying to, from the 60s, find their way into the 70s because you got all these new groups that are getting huge and they're blowing up, and they sound nothing like you.
Right.
You know, so that's that whole thing where I think a lot of artists have the problem of pivoting from one era to the next.
Big time.
Because we already talked about how crucial the 60s was and how much was invested in that and all the people that were involved in it. And now you're going into 70s, and they're going to rewrite the script.
Oh, exactly.
Again.
Like step 2,
Act 2,
here
we go.
Roll the curtains.
Yeah.
No,
so
exactly.
I'm glad they did it because holy cow.
Well, it's like, I mean, you got bands like, so Kiss, you know, when they started out, they used to open for Blue Oyster Cult. And then a few years later, fucking Blue Oyster Cult was calling Kiss to see if they could open up.
Yep.
Like, what a flip of events.
The fun part about Kiss is Kiss wasn't known for their music.
No.
It was the theatrics.
Oh, always.
100%.
If you get right down to it,
And they threw a
have
hell of a show.
They basically have AC/DC level rock music is what their music is, but their production is
the theatrics
through the
are
roof.
nuts.
Oh, yeah.
So I think that's where you get your Kiss Army, right?
Yep, 100%.
Everybody wants to dress up like
Yep.
it's cosplay
it's almost
every
like
weekend.
it's like a festival. Every time you see them one time, like it's a whole event.
Absolutely.
Like, it's not just a show. It's a escape from reality, I guess you'd say.
And I'm not trying to say they sucked. They don't.
No, not at all.
I will say this: they're not my favorite by any means.
Listen, they're fucking played out for me. That's where it is.
I think that's kind of
If a Kiss song comes on, I'm gonna jam it out.
Yeah.
I'm gonna listen to it.
But I'm not looking for it.
Nope, not gonna go into the deep
Yeah.
tracks. Hey, Gene Simmons put on a new soul album. Don't fucking care. Like, I don't.
I'm out.
I do not care.
At this point, I would say seriously, I'm out.
Yeah,
no, I'm good.
No thanks.
So British acts, some of those, just to mention some, I know you've got a trainload of them. But Deep Purple.
Oh, well, that's probably one of my favorite 70s bands
Zeppelin,
ever.
obviously.
Yep.
You got Sabbath.
Got Stones.
The Stones. You got, it gets absolutely Queen. It gets absolutely crazy the amount of talent that comes out of the UK.
Oh, it's nuts.
Coming this way to do this stuff. And it's like,
it's like you even got bands like The Clash popping up. You know, they
Yeah,
pop up
of
till
course.
76, but they're
Yeah.
in there. Like, and
Yep.
they were totally off base. Like, holy crap.
yup. And so those were kind of like, those guys were around, like you said, in the 60s.
Yep.
And they were a big influencer in the start of the 70s, so early 70s.
Well, and a lot of them, you know, they were like pub bands over there in the UK is what they were really doing,
Yeah.
which doesn't sound like much to say here, but over there, that's huge.
It's a big deal.
People don't realize how small the UK actually fucking is. So, like, you got notoriety over there. It doesn't take a whole lot at the time because the population's so small and all the action's in one place.
Well, yeah, and I think you also, when you think about it, too, you know, you're talking about the UK, you're talking about the opportunities that they have because of if they're playing pubs.
Absolutely.
There's one on every corner.
Exactly.
So it's take your pick, and as long if you're good at that point, yeah, because people attended their pubs. It was the gathering. It's a gathering place.
Oh, big time.
It's their gathering place.
Yep.
So that made perfect sense for that'd be a great way to get started. Could you imagine if we had a pub? So it wasn't a drunkard or a bar or it was a pub where it had historic value to a neighborhood.
Yeah, that's what people don't realize.
It's
like,
historical.
That's the whole idea. Yeah.
Grandpappy, everybody went there. It's history, right? It's got that community has embraced that pub. It's their restaurant. It's their drinkery. It's their
call it the watering hole. I mean,
exactly.
It's
their water
yeah,
cooler. It's where they
exactly.
go shoot the shit. You know.
Yep.
It's where if you want to go fight Jimmy, you do it out in front of the pub.
Damn
you know,
right.
that's
Or the football game's on. We're gonna fucking tear it up, boys.
English football. That's what they.
Yes.
Yeah, so
football.
You watch your Ted Lasso there.
Yes.
So, which by the way, that's an amazing show. If you
I have only caught like a little bit of it.
Watch it.
It's great.
It's not just comedy. It's an
I
amazing.
love Sudeikis anyways.
He's amazing
awesome.
in this. It's an amazing show. Anyway, interestingly, after that, I think when she starts getting to the mid part of the 70s, that's where we start getting into our stuff. Mountain,
Definitely.
Grand Funk Railroad, Cooper,
dude.
AC/DC, Blue Oyster Cult, Kiss, Aerosmith, Van Halen, Ted Nugent.
Dude.
All these guys start popping in, and it's like, what I love about the 70s the most I mean, absolutely just love, and this is why it's one of the best genres out there. You still have what we call our rock anthems.
Yes, thank you. Oh, yeah, dude.
There are very few rock
man.
anthems that have taken place after that are true rock anthems. You know what I mean?
Yep.
You can put on something from, you can put on Mountain. You can put on Grand Funk Railroad. You can put on AC/DC.
Surrender by Cheap Trick.
These are songs that everybody knows.
Pick a Journey song. Just pick one.
Well, that's interesting.
Pick one.
You said that because that's right when stadium or arena rock became huge. So that's where Journey would get installed. So you got Boston, Kansas, Styx.
That's the first show.
Toto.
When Dad saw Boston in the 70s, was at Mile High Stadium in Denver. That's where he saw him. He said they had fucking 2-story pipe organs. It was the coolest shit he ever seen in his life.
There's where I think they started. I don't know if it's true or not, because now when they play, but they're a lot older, but there's not as much of the theatric.
No, not even close.
I mean, with Journey, there still is.
And I'll say, I think technology's done a lot of that, because all those sounds are condensed in a little box these days.
That's true.
Because you know how it is. Like, if you look at the stage equipment used now versus it's all dummy cabs now. Back then, they were using speakers and them motherfuckers. Like, that's how they had to do it.
The more the merrier, right? Yeah. Foreigner, Heart.
Foreigner's so good.
I mean, but here's the thing. That's what I get. I can't find another and maybe it's just because we've self-indulged it enough. We've
my gosh.
dedicated ourselves to just dive in.
7 days a week is this stuff. That's it.
It's just, I can't think of another genre that I've invested so much time into.
No.
Memorizing, knowing, trying to learn.
Dude. And factoids and
loving,
jokes
loving hearing.
And, yeah, man.
And I mean, every time it comes on, it's like, whoop, you go,
yeah, it's done. You
it's 11.
Just hold on. Yeah, exactly.
You just do it.
I think that's that era of like we've said before, it'll never be replicated.
I don't think so.
And it will never die.
I hope.
Yes.
I hope you're wrong.
Right.
I hope you're wrong.
Oh, dude.
But I say you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just one of those things, like, I think 50 years from now, I will still find comfort in the same music, the same way
agree.
I do right now. I can guarantee it.
Well, I mean, good parents are teaching their kids this music.
Of course, yes.
I can't say that. I'm kind of retracting, because I'm thinking about it in my head. I'm thinking too hard about it. Is that, I mean, when I say the 70s and how much I've dived into, and just I know so much of the music selection in there.
Oh, yeah.
True. But I think our parents had the large part about
100%.
this. We talk about this all the time too.
Yeah. Everything.
But when we were growing up, at least for me, when I was growing up, the 80s, 90s, that was essentially my 70s.
Right.
So I can tell you, I mean, I'm in a '90s cover band, so
right.
I mean, looking at it, I know the '90s catalog pretty damn well.
Yeah.
From every genre,
'90s to mid 2000s is my just honeypot of that's what I grew up on. That's the meat
absolutely.
And potatoes.
And I think that's a lot of what you have to do with it. I mean, you think about the '70s, you're still talking about the baby boomers.
Oh yeah,
there's more people.
But think about this: look at those '90s bands. What was their influence?
Exactly.
The fucking 70s bands, man.
You're right.
Yep,
You're
that's
right.
why.
You're
I think that's
right.
why.
That's what Gus. They grew up on it.
Yeah. Well, and really, if you think about it, like all that punk stuff we were listening to, like Offspring or Green Day, it's sped up classic rock. It's just faster classic rock. They use bar chords, same type idea.
Yep, and there's punk rock thrown in there from the 70s. Absolutely.
Yep. Which, again, that in itself got influence from classic rock, punk rock, all the same thing, even blues.
Absolutely.
That's where the solos came from at all. I mean,
so speaking of the subgenres, let's start top, and then I'll let you dab into some because I know you got some stuff pulled up for some specific bands. We want to get into that because there's a lot of good stuff there. Progressive rock.
Oh yeah, prog. That's a whole deal.
Yep.
Zappa was a big.
That's the first one named
for me.
Frank Zappa. Yep.
He said something in an interview that really struck a chord with me. No pun intended.
I like what you did there.
They asked him, they said, everyone else plays these solos, the same every time, and that's fine.
Sure.
And they're pristine and polished. And he said that. He said, everybody else goes up and does this. He said, I have a basic mechanical understanding of the instrument and the time that I need to fill with it. And what happens beyond that is up to anybody. He said, every time I play a solo, it's never, and he is the only guy that has never played a solo twice the same ever. Everything he does is different.
I think of Gilmore when he does.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Well, yeah, with him, you can't replicate those fucking bends the way he does it. Like,
no,
he could do it.
He has pieces of his solos that he replicates, but a lot of it is homegrown.
Oh yeah.
But I think he's probably taken some of that Zappa.
Oh yeah,
mentality and just said,
Juju vibe.
I know what key I'm in. I know what keys I go to. I know how much time and what I can do to play with it. I'm gonna have fun.
That's it.
And as he should.
Oh yeah,
as
Hendrix
Zappa
was
did.
that guy.
Yeah,
sure.
absolutely.
I mean,
like we've talked about, you get those '70s guitarists that are
yeah.
legends. That's why they're legends, because they still to
and
this
I'd put him
day,
in
if they're
prog
around.
rock, I would say that's pretty.
Who's that?
Like Hendrix, even though he's really psychedelic rock, if he stayed in it,
I think
you're
right.
A progressive rock guy, I think.
I think he would have dabbled, but I think he would have had a core.
And even Floyd, they transitioned sort of into progressive stuff.
A little bit.
They really took it into that like astral.
They kind of went all over the damn place.
They did.
Though, you know, that
they
was
have songs that are bluesy. They have songs that are more rock. It's weird. That's why I like them.
I do too.
I don't know. Just encompass all of it.
And then, of course, we already have, but with progressive rock, you had bands that went to the pop rock. So they were more poppy. So that's your Boston, For No Journey, Kansas Sticks.
Which you tell that to people now, they're like, that's pop rock? Yes, it
Yeah.
was. The fuck it was.
Yeah.
You bet.
Yeah. And then you throw the Brits in, you got Supertramp, ELO.
Supertramp's awesome.
Yeah.
Fucking love
And
Supertramp.
I think that progressive rock is where you get that arena rock that really kind of pops out and it goes, this is why we're going to do this. And I think that's why everybody grabbed it, because those were the music festivals, the renowned ones, I think.
Yeah,
and
without question.
And they had complex shows that were theatrical, right? They were selling out arenas.
Yeah, and
for God's sakes.
Look at what they wore, even.
Exactly.
Like, oh man.
Yeah, it's nuts. But I think it's I think it's interesting when you look at those groups and you go, they're great, but it almost feels like they all kind of followed the leader.
100%.
You know what I mean?
No, I know exactly what you mean.
I love those bands.
Oh yeah,
love them. Most of the catalogs.
Oh yeah,
but it's one of those where it's like you could get sometime, and people are gonna hate me for this, but I could get Foreigner and Boston mixed up.
100%. Oh my gosh, are you kidding me?
You know?
All the time.
I mean, vocals
Bad
are
Company,
different.
I can get
same
mixed
thing.
in.
Yeah,
Same thing,
yeah.
Oh.
You know, vocals are different, but you look back at it and you go, yeah, but the musicality of it kind of has that. It follows that. They were aces at the panty drop stuff.
Oh, without question.
I mean, these guys were ballad masters.
Oh yeah, dude. Yeah.
And I contribute so much of it to the vocalists they had.
Without question. Well, I mean, truthfully, like the falsetto was the move. Like that's what you had to have.
But you had guys that had that. Yeah, they had mid to upper range.
Yep. And they're all tiny. All of them so small.
Yeah.
Just little dudes.
Yeah. But they had so much bell. You know, they had diaphragms that were probably the
Look
size
at Steve
of
Perry, for God's
Oh my
sake.
God.
Look at those pipes. You're talking about some fucking pipes.
Dude,
good Lord.
Man. But all those guys vocally, I mean, were just insanely good.
Well, and you couldn't bullshit it back then. You really had to have it. You had to fucking
that's
have
my
it.
point.
Like,
there was no auto-tune.
No.
You know, you did what you did. You were damn good at it. So I think that's why there was so much success. And it's all not taking anything away from the band, but the vocal was the driving figure in those bands. They had to be.
Well, it's that karaoke thing. What's everybody doing? They're singing the lyrics. At the end of the day, we're all just doing karaoke.
And most people actually, that's their go-to. They try to go, hey, we're going to go do that, or I want to sing this song. Or you get that brave son of a bitch that's been drinking too much and says, I want to try it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been there, done that, and it didn't go well.
13 PBRs deep, and you feel like singing a little bit of Hank Williams. It happens. I understand.
Oh, we could do Hank at 13. We could do Hank at 5.
Yeah, we could.
I mean,
family tradition.
That's right. Then you get to New Wave.
Oh, yeah.
That's where you're talking about the Cars, Knack, B-52s, Devo, Talking Heads.
Devo's tight.
Martha and the Muffins?
Yeah.
Have you heard of them?
Yep.
Martha and the Muffins?
There's a song by them, you know. I can't remember the name of it, but it's one of those ones that
Echo Beach.
You're like that riff. Okay.
Echo Beach. They're Canadian.
Okay.
Interesting. I'll have to look them up. About 77-ish. But they did a lot of, you look at the synth pop, you're looking at
weird.
synthesizers and stuff like that. That's the stuff that transitioned into the 80s
Big
real
time.
hard.
It carried over into rock in the 80s.
Oh yeah.
Look at Jump by Van Halen. It's full of synth, like the whole damn thing. People were kind
of
flabbergasted when that came out at first.
That was 80s. But so 70s again. In mid-70s, you saw the rise of punk rock.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where it was.
The
you got
Sex
the Ramones.
Pistols.
You got the Ramones. You got Blondie.
Blondie's awesome.
You know, and it was like, okay, all right, you know.
That was that angsty, like...
The fashion started to go. The jeans and the leather jacket.
Don't understand, but there's a lot of turmoil going on in Great Britain and Germany and stuff with the Berlin Wall. And so there was a lot of angst that came with that punk movement. And most of it, not all of it, but a lot of it came from over in the UK, Ireland, over in that area, just because of what was going on.
Yep.
It's just representative of the times, you know. They're like, hey, we like classic rock, but we're fucking mad. Like, that's what it was.
And then you turn into a pop ska reggae band.
Right? Dude. Yeah, now you got like reggae, jazz, fusion band. You know, it's
right.
just like everything.
Blues rock.
Yeah.
Clapton, ZZ Top, George Thorogood.
Thorogood's the man.
Yeah. You get to soft rock and pop, which, like we said, softer got soft.
Definitely.
A lot of guys and gals and bands that were out in the 70s really started to get popular.
Oh, yeah.
You know, Carpenters, Jackson 5, Bee Gees,
Well, like
Doobie
a lot
Brothers.
of them had to radio it up. Like,
well,
you had to...
that's where it was. A lot of that soft rock was being... They were taking entire radio stations and dedicating it to simply soft rock because it was such a large genre. They didn't call it pop.
No.
It was soft rock because these guys would come out and you'd have, I think, a Billy Joel.
Yes, 100%.
You have Billy Joel. It's in
probably
the
like
70s.
the defining guy.
Yeah, he's got songs.
Yeah.
He's a piano man.
Yep.
What do you know? No pun intended. He's
pretty good.
He's
pretty good. It really tickled my key.
We're good tonight.
Yeah,
we've got
we're
a
on
couple.
it. We're on it.
He had a lot of slower stuff.
Oh yeah.
That was amazing.
Oh,
then
yeah.
you turn it around and he throws out something that's a rocker.
Oh, I know.
You know,
right?
and it's like
just
so
out of left field.
You can't not say that they're soft rock because they are rock.
Yeah.
They're
Definitely.
rocking. You know.
In my opinion, if you have the classic, 4 or 5 piece band, you get to say you're rock because that takes skill. It does.
And it's I think that every one of those, even though they were softer, they still had the bones in the genre.
Oh yeah, or there was at least one track that was a little more upbeat or something that you know what I mean?
Well, just because they were soft didn't mean that everything was a love song.
Right.
You know what I mean? I think that's what people get real confused.
Oh yeah.
They go, soft rock is everything. It's all emotions and it's all either dread or love. Or
in my opinion, it's what ballads were in the 80s.
Yeah.
70s soft rock turned into 80s ballads, basically.
Pretty much.
Yep.
But I think there's a reason why they did that in the 80s because
time.
they saw the success of it in the 70s.
It was just
and
writing
it was its
on
own
the wall
thing.
type of deal. Exactly.
Why would we not do this?
Yep.
Because every musician's got a soft spot where they want to try to
pull
out some of that. But
I mean, the DGs, as we talked about, like there's your example. Like everyone has a secret love for something they don't want to talk about.
So you rename it.
Oh, yeah.
So just some of the bands. Bee Gees,
man.
Doobie Brothers.
The Doobs.
Hall & Oates.
Hall & Oates is fucking awesome.
They're great. Bread.
Bread. Oh, shit.
Oh, yeah. The Osmonds.
Yep. Yeah, the Osmonds were like from pretty close to here somewhere. Like not too
really?
Or the maybe I'm thinking of the Partridges. I can't remember. One of them was from around here.
I didn't know that.
Yep. From over
then you get male soloists. So you got Barry Manilow.
Barry.
You still
Wayne Newton probably coming out.
Neil Diamond.
Neil Diamond. Neil's the man.
Paul McCartney solo now.
Yeah, which thankfully that really was a great thing for everyone.
Stevie Wonder.
Yep.
James Taylor.
Taylor's great.
Clapton goes off on his own.
You got Frampton coming alive, if you will.
Yep. Rod Stewart.
Yeah, Rod Stewart. You know what? He's one that has some that, like, everyone's mom loves, but then there's a couple tracks where you're like, okay.
All right.
Wake up, Maggie. I'm like, all right, okay.
Okay.
I like that one.
You get into the ladies who epitomized. You got Linda Ronstadt.
Yep.
Carly Simon.
Carly Simon's very
She took everything.
looking.
Poor James Taylor.
Yeah, I
know. Donna Summer, Barbra Streisand, Olivia Newton-John.
I always forget Barbra Streisand's not just an actress.
Yeah.
I think everyone does.
In the 70s, you had acts.
Yeah.
So you had Sonny and Cher.
Yep.
Glenn Campbell, John Denver.
Ooh, Sonny in that tree. Man. What a way to go.
Tony Orlando and Dawn.
Ooh.
Captain and Tennille.
I was going to say Captain and Tennille.
Yes. Donnie Marie Osmond.
Hell yeah.
Yep. So they had that was your top 40.
Yep.
They
exactly.
filled the top 40 on the contemporary charts every week, and that's what they did. So yeah, that's why they had radio stations just dedicated to it.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, Billy Joel, Chicago, America,
Chicago.
the Eagles.
Yep, Little River Band.
Oh yes,
LRB baby.
Yes, Fleetwood Mac. Yeah. That's Jackson Brown.
Mm-hmm.
There's a good one.
Oh, very good.
Very good one. Elton John.
The
Don
Allman
McLean.
Brothers had some stuff that was kind of in that in between.
Who's that?
Allman Brothers.
Oh,
they had a
yeah,
few
yeah,
things
yeah,
that were
yeah.
in between.
There's some of those
like,
bands like that though that were in that genre
hybrid or
where they were dairy. They were in the
kind of on the fence, so to
They
speak.
were that mixed up like we always talk about.
Well, look at Kiss. I mean, they did disco track.
Pure Prairie League.
Yeah.
I mean, I think about them. I mean, there's a lot of bands that had that kind of that country backbone.
Like,
they wanted to be cowboys, you know, but they were in that that genre, you know.
Yeah.
It was like you're almost there, but you're not.
Right.
You know, you're not country. You're
what would you put?
Yeah, they were.
There's another one we talked about like prog rock and stuff, but where would you put Thin Lizzy on the scale of things there? Because they're kind of like a little. You know what I mean?
I think they would go into prog rock.
Something.
Yeah.
That's one I've never really been able to put a pin on what
I'd
they
either
are.
put them in prog rock or I would actually go to hard rock.
Something, yeah.
For that, because a lot of Thin Lizzy's got that, the beat alone has some of that hard rock to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what I mean? It's hard to tell.
It is.
Because, like you said, that's the great thing about the genres. I think that a lot of the folks jumped those too.
Oh, big time.
You know, they didn't just stay put. It was kind of like what we talked about transitioning from the 60s to the 70s.
Once trying to ride the wave, I think, is what it is. Yeah,
you got to stay relevant, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, yeah, I can only imagine when you have Led Zeppelin and Pink Floyd coming out with these albums they're coming out with, you got to at least somewhat
You got to dance.
You got to try to replicate what they're doing a little bit.
Dance, monkey, dance.
Well, look, we go to a metal show, and we might see 3 or 4 bands we've never heard, but there's a good chance we're going to at least like them a little bit just based on the fact that they're a lot like the other ones, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think that's part of it, too.
Yeah, and then they're going to break out Garth Brooks later in the night.
I fucking love Garth Brooks. Don't give a fuck. I love him.
No, I do, too.
Blame it all on my roots, but I love him.
Like I said, Don McLean, Joni Mitchell.
Don McLean's killer.
Paul Simon. Yeah, Simon and Garfunkel.
So's Joe Walsh, for that matter.
Oh, my gosh, yes.
He's a little proggy. Something.
Gordon Lightfoot.
Gordon Lightfoot, which shout out to Gordon Lightfoot. He just passed away about a week or so ago. The Edmund Fitzgerald.
We were talking about this, and unfortunately, we kind of both came to that dampening realization that this is that time frame.
Oh, we're in
all
the
these
pocket
legends that we're talking about now.
Yep.
They're at that age where we don't last forever, folks. So.
Yeah, we'll start a sideshow called the Who Died podcast or something. Like, damn.
We'll talk about being Debbie Downer, and that's where it gets right there.
You're like, and what's going to be bad is when it's the big ones. Like when you got a guy like, say, Angus Young, or like Jimmy Page dies. Like that's going to be
folks,
painful.
I mean, I don't want to talk too much because it's morbid.
Of
but
course.
I mean, it's just like we got to get to that where that shock factor, it's going to happen.
Yeah, you kind of got to like. And that's how I am. I feel like for a day, I'm always like, damn it. Like when Neil Peart went,
jeez,
it really bothered me.
Yeah, tell me about it.
Yeah, like that really hit home.
Yeah, that one sucked.
Or like, the only one for me that I remember vividly that really got me was Dimebag Darrell because I was like such a huge fan when it happened.
That was a lot of trauma and tragedy in that one too. That wasn't just of old age and natural causes.
But I just felt like it was like somebody from my true generation was gone, like for the first time.
A lot
you know
of
what
people
I mean?
felt that way.
Yeah,
a lot of people.
Like,
well, the music, when you get music that really touches you and it's inspirational to you.
Oh yeah.
When that person passes, it's that much harder to cope with.
Oh yeah,
because it's like.
Well, and I feel like as a musician, I almost owe him a little more after that. I'm like, I gotta step it up.
Damn good way of putting it.
Yeah.
Damn good way of putting it.
Oh yeah,
it really is. For me, it's kind of that like when I'm trying to think of who. I think kind of like with Tom Petty.
Yeah,
that's how I felt.
Man, that one sucked.
Because that one was on a bucket list.
Yeah,
I wanted to go see
too.
him, and like I said, my wife's best friend went and saw him at Red Rocks and was just, she was elated because she loved it. She said it was so good. I was so prepped. I'm like, I'm going to go see Tom Petty. And then he passes away. Dude. And it's like, are you serious? Because Tom Petty's one of those guys that if, on the opposite scale, if Tom Petty said, I'm putting out a record tomorrow, I go buy that
in
son
a heartbeat.
Of a bitch.
Are you kidding me? Yeah.
You know, so that to me is what it's. And the weird thing about Tom Petty, and I'll jump off of him, is that there wasn't, and there aren't very many musicians that probably wouldn't agree with this, because I've seen a lot of people that talked about Tom Petty, especially after he passed away, was that you could go to a 2.5-hour show and know every goddamn song.
Dude, for real.
It was that easy to just know and like what they were doing.
Yep.
And they could come up with stuff that I just think it's a legend, man.
Oh, dude.
You can't
I always
not.
called him the storyteller of rock.
Yes.
Like, that was his
Yes.
music because it was so relatable.
And if you actually took the time to, like, understand the lyrics,
Oh, yeah.
they were all great
Oh,
stories.
dude.
All of them.
I'm telling you.
You know? I still remember when I was a kid, my dad was really into the Traveling Wilburys.
Yeah.
And the song Tweeter and the Monkey Man.
Oh, yeah.
And that song was kind of, it's very dark story. It's very dark story. And the song is dark, you know? It's got a lot of stuff in it. It's almost scary.
Yeah.
The song is, you know? But Petty was right in there, and they had a lot of good songs that most people don't listen to or even knew who Traveling Wilburys were.
I didn't until we talked about it on
But
that one podcast.
they
and then all of
have
a sudden
some-
I was like, oh, my God, I know, like, so many of their songs.
Yeah. But you want to talk about a supergroup, right? So, I mean, that's kind of the
Ridiculous.
stuff that I look back at it, and for me, when I think of people like Petty and even with Dimebag Darrell, you
Yep.
look at it and you go, it sucks because you'll never get to hear them play the songs that you grew up on.
Yes.
But it
That's
really
what it was
sucks.
for me, yeah.
It really sucks because you won't get to listen to them or let them be there when they create something
Well,
new.
like, yeah, you know their contribution is done. Like, what you
Exactly.
have
There
is
it
what
is.
you have.
What you get's what you
Yep.
get. And luckily, both of them
Oh,
left
my
one hell of a
goodness.
footprint.
What
so,
a legacy.
Yeah,
They're
right.
still releasing unreleased Tom Petty stuff to this day.
And I'm not complaining.
Not a bit.
That's the only positive out of this I see so far.
Oh, for sure.
So, all right, brother, you got some stuff on there that
Oh,
you
man.
wanted, you looked up, and then
Well,
we were kinda
so
going.
let's do this.
Yeah.
So, like, out of those 70s bands, we've touched on a good bit of the heavies. What are your, like, core four? Like, if you had to
son
say,
of a bitch.
you know, if you're taking this music to someone that's never listened to it, and you have four
That's
bands,
hard.
what would you pick? Like, what would you say encompasses that generation, that genre the most?
There's too many goddamn bands, Cody.
I know there is. I know. That's why I did it to you.
Shit. And you know the hard part about that is it's like the last stuff that you listen to, that's the first thing that pops
Of
in your head.
course,
But you're going,
always.
I don't know if I'd make them okay, so Pink Floyd.
That's me too. They're on mine.
Zeppelin.
Yep. I think those are almost bog standard. Like, you have to.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. God, who else? I don't want to make it just rockers. And
Sure.
The good thing about like Pink Floyd and all that is, and you know, even Zeppelin is they weren't just hardcore rockers.
Oh no, they were.
Zeppelin
blues and
had
classical.
Zeppelin had the most epic like fairyland lyrics known to
Dude,
man to
out
this
there.
day. No
Literally-
one, even
literally quoting Tolkien at some point.
Yeah, and I'm sitting here going, wait a minute. You know,
Yeah.
Lord of the Rings is coming out at this time, and I'm
yes.
like, how does he know about Mordor?
How's he know about Gollum?
Exactly.
The evil one? What?
What the hell?
Hold on.
And then you realize, dumbass, it's a book. And
Right.
It's old.
You're like, oh, that's from the 50s.
Switching it up for 70s. Okay, so I'd have to either put. Shit, I'm dancing between Boston and Foreigner.
Yeah, I know. It's kind of the flip of a coin,
that
really.
One's hard because
Like,
you look
yeah.
at both ways. Okay, we're gonna put them together. They're gonna play the same.
That's
show.
fair enough. Yep.
They're gonna play the
They
same
toured
show.
together
They
enough.
toured together.
Yeah.
So we're just gonna put them in the same show.
I agree.
And it's so hard, man. This sucks. You put a hard one on me, man. God, but it's a great question. And then you got Queen, which I think, I mean,
Were
with
they prog? What do you think? I think so.
Yeah.
Definitely. Because of all the...
yeah, they are.
They just went everywhere.
I think you're right.
That's
I
one
think,
band I could never put a pin on how they wrote their music. Because it was so all over.
Well, then you go operatics.
Yes.
And then you go, you know, the hard rock stuff.
Oh,
and you're like,
dude.
okay. But I don't know. There's too many.
I think that's the truth of it, really.
John Denver on Sunshine on My Ass. John
yeah.
Denver. There you go.
Yes.
No, not him. Sorry. I don't. The only road, the song I know is the
That's
one.
it. That's
and
it.
that's
dude.
it.
I think everybody's in that same boat for the most.
But, you know, you got bands that you can't, like, you could put CCR in there.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you want to talk about having an epic lineup of stuff over years.
Dude, no kidding.
I mean, and those boys been around for a long time.
dude. Fogerty,
long time, and that dude still looks like he looks a young guy.
Pretty good.
I mean, he's old.
Yeah,
but he still looks like he's 20 years younger than what he
sounds
actually
like himself in a lot of
does.
ways too.
Big time.
I just saw a clip on Facebook not long ago of him.
He did the Jimmy Fallon thing not that long ago.
That's what it was.
When they did the kazoo and all the weird instruments, and he was in the middle of that, and I was like, he still sounds like him, which is great. But then again, I want to jump into like the pop stuff too.
Right.
I want to talk about like Journey and Toto and James Taylor and
you gotta love Toto.
All these other guys that were just. I mean,
it's kind of hard to pin it. I guess you would say
it's too much.
I know what you mean. No, I'm in the same boat. I think Zeppelin and Floyd are probably the roots.
I had a lot of influence with Simon and Garfunkel.
Me too,
growing up.
Actually,
so it was one of those where I know most of those songs.
Oh yeah,
I can sit and watch their New York show and sing right with them.
Hell yeah,
because it's like these guys sound great, and you want to talk about some serious talent. I mean, the way Garfunkel can make his mouth to where it's that Freddie Mercury thing, where he can make it, and his teeth are all jacked up, right? And he's sitting there. But the sounds that man can make, and it's like he has. I think he has like Jack Black. I think he has Pitch Perfect.
Oh, probably.
And it's one of those where he can go.
Yep.
Paul Simon, not so much.
Yeah.
He's the color guy.
Yeah.
If you ask me in the relationship, he's kind of the color guy. And of course, that relationship went bad.
Yes.
But I mean, he was the guitar man. He was the guy that did the writing.
Yep.
He was kind of the brains, if you will.
Yeah,
I think. And I don't know enough about him to make a fair
right
type thing. Okay, I threw a hell of a lot more than top 4, but what do you think? What do you got?
Well, Floyd and Zeppelin, I can't disagree there.
I think I know what your other one's going to be.
And I'd throw Sabbath in there.
That's going to be it.
and just to keep it spicy, the Grateful Dead, because that encompasses all of the
Absolutely.
That's like the main circle.
Yes.
You got to get the hippies in there. That's for the record. That's where the hippie movement went, was to the fucking Grateful Dead, like as a whole.
Yeah.
They're the ones that carried that through into today because they're still touring now.
We wouldn't have Cherry Garcia ice cream.
Oh, God,
if it
no.
happened.
Yeah, exactly, dude. Right?
God forbid. No, I think that I can't. That's the good thing about the 70s, too. The 70s, like I said earlier, reminds me of the 90s.
Yes.
I could get into all the genres. I could get into the singer-songwriter.
Dude,
I could get into the pop.
Enough.
I could get into, the rock, the hard rock, what they even considered metal back then.
Oh, yeah.
I could get into, even
metal's
some.
Not what it was. Boy.
I could even get into some of the disco.
Me too.
Dude, the pop, all that.
Shit's good.
All of it is good.
I've said it forever. If it's got a good beat and a catchy groove, I'm into it. I don't care what it is.
And we've skipped the funk movement of
God.
the 70s.
We could. You'd almost do a whole
James
episode on
Brown,
just funk.
Parliament Funkadelic. I mean, these
Parliament's
guys.
fucking awesome.
One of my favorite movies back in the day, PCU, when they come play at the pit. Yep. Oh, it's still the best when they did Stomp. That was so good. So good. Cool in the Gang.
Cool. That's what I was going to say. Cool in the
Gang.
Yep.
I mean, War.
Yep. War's fucking awesome.
I can't. You can't.
Yeah, there's just so much.
Americana rock, progressive rock, glam rock, punk rock, new wave, power pop. I mean, you can't. There's too much.
When you had you even had pieces of so AC/DC broke through at the end of the 70s there.
Yeah.
And they even brought in a whole different kind of thing because they were bringing a 50s sound into the 70s with that bluesy stuff, but it was so much faster and nobody'd ever heard it. They didn't. Who are these little midgets just fucking wailing?
And I think for them, would you agree that it obviously was their music, but it was also their production value? You had Angus jumping around on stage in a schoolboy outfit.
That's why they were
his moves that he
they're
has.
Kiss level with that shit because you got the horns, you got the fucking air guitar, the bell from Hell's Bell, that whole they are a stadium production band for sure. You couldn't see them at a 200-seat venue and it wouldn't be the same.
The best thing about them that I like, and nothing against Kiss, they didn't have to dress up in costumes.
No.
Even though the schoolboy thing is a costume.
It is,
let's
technically.
But here we go. They didn't have to go all costume. Those gentlemen, as soon as you saw them and you saw them live, you knew that was rock and roll. You knew.
They've always been the epitome of, if I think rock and roll, I just think of fucking AC/DC. They are just a fucking rock
That was
band,
rock and roll, man.
Core, just fucking hanging out with your buds, fucking drink some beers.
Absolutely.
Listen to some tunes. That's some working on a car
Rosie.
music for some reason too. Yeah, they had a lot of like sexual innuendos in their stuff. There was a lot of it.
Speaking of them, just a little off. See if you know or if you've heard or have you usually know kind of some of these tidbits on background stuff. So I was reading a thing and I saw an article that says the picture that inspired a whole lot of Rosie.
Mm-hmm.
And then I started reading the article, and there's like so many different stories on how Rosie was actually developed, or who she was, or what the song was. Obviously, it was about a woman.
Oh, yeah.
And at the end of it, they just said Bon Scott had a relationship with a large woman.
I was told that she was a prostitute that Bon Scott frequented when he was home.
Yes.
And her name was Rosie.
Yes.
And he promised her he would
He'd
write
do
a song about her.
That's
I think
one of them.
that is the truth of it. I've heard that from multiple places.
There's story that she was a avid groupie, so the whole band kind of got in
on
a whole lot of Rosie. It makes sense.
Oh, yeah.
There was it obviously came from a real person.
Yeah, oh yeah.
I would really like to see the photo.
That's
of
what I'm
who
saying.
It was based after, because of course you have the giant blow up one that they used.
Oh yeah,
like
that's
that
so
whenever
cool.
they do that one, and it was Rosie, the big tit tattoo and the cigarette and everything like that.
All the
big woman,
makeup.
Yeah. Just way too much caked
so
on.
good.
So you had to say.
I mean, they give her sizes in the song.
Yeah, exactly. So
you just had it all.
you gotta admit she was a voluptuous woman. So it was. I'd really like to see kind of the
absolutely
where the
basis.
background of that was. Yeah. What else you got for songs and stuff like that that were specific?
So much. So like Skinner, there's a whole.
Oh God,
they
I
actually
forgot.
spawned a bunch. So Skinner, started as Skinner. Airplane Wreck.
Right.
You get 38 Special out of Skinner. You get the Van Zant brothers coming out of Skinner doing their own thing. They actually did some country stuff in the early 2000s even. Like Blackberry Smoke, they came off of Leonard Skinner. I mean, there's so much that started off because they were a big band. There's
you got 35 people. That happens,
Like, people don't realize that. It's like if you said you're an Earth, Wind, and Fire, like it doesn't really mean anything.
No, I played the tambourine.
Yeah,
for 5
I did
gigs.
for 25 minutes on a Tuesday once, dude. I was there.
More cowbell.
I just feel like there's, and there's some bands that are not just bands like Kiss who have their following behind them.
Yeah.
Queen is definitely one of them.
Yep.
They have dedicated fans, I would say.
Yep.
Obviously, you got, Heart, another one. Oh my God, they came out of left
field. Them ladies, the Wilson sisters. Holy crap!
And she did that cover of Stairway
that
a couple years ago with the choir and everything.
At the Lincoln Center with them.
Oh my God!
When they were celebrating,
Paige crying.
Yeah. That was crazy.
That was one of the best performances I've ever seen.
Is interestingly enough, behind you, our drumhead.
Yes,
Jason
Bonham's drumhead.
He was playing drums. Yeah,
he was.
And he's badass.
Yep. Shout out to Mom and Dad for getting me Jason Bonham's drumhead when they saw him out in San Diego.
Shout
that was
out
killer.
You getting him one.
I know. My mom immediately, she's like, Justin's going to be jealous, but look what I got you.
You're damn right I am. You're good parents. You're
dude.
good parents.
And then let's talk about something really important. Van motherfucking Halen, baby. Talk about...
Not Van Hagar.
Not Van Hagar.
Halen.
No. We're talking about full of cocaine and angst. We're talking about Van Halen, baby. Yeah, and I like Sammy Hagar. I really do. I like Sammy Hagar, but man, core Van Halen is core Van Halen.
Yep, absolutely.
Roth just had it going.
You got to get that was part of that band was a little bit of that crazy.
Yeah, oh yes.
So that was the
so
piece
many
of
people
it.
don't know how classically trained Eddie and Alex Van Halen are. Like they are pianists, string instruments, anything they can touch. They know every inch of it.
Alex just had a birthday.
Yep, I saw that.
So yeah,
there's still turmoil with him and Sammy. So Sammy just did this clip on Rock Nation about 2 weeks ago. We could talk about this. There's a documentary, you're going to love this, coming out on Netflix in June called The History of Rock and Roll. It's exactly what we do, and they're talking about the origins, how it started, where it came, literally what we do.
Holy shit, this
But
sounds
Sammy
familiar.
was in it, and they had a whole episode about his part in Van Halen. Well, Alex came out and protested because he didn't like what Sammy had to say about his time in Van Halen and tried to get the fucking episode pulled. So you talk about turmoils never dying. Dude, it's 2023 and they're still fighting.
Bad blood is bad blood.
Well,
man.
they wouldn't let him use 2 of the songs that he wrote with the band. A lot of people don't know that Sammy actually wrote the music when he was playing in Van Halen.
Yeah.
Like with the guys, it wasn't just
Which would explain it because the music changed dramatically.
Drastically. Yeah, exactly.
Which is why I didn't really care for it. But
yeah, just there's a couple.
some of it was
there's
okay.
a couple there.
You know,
like.
But
like Heavy Metal by Sammy Hagar, fucking love it. That's one of my favorite songs ever. Rules.
Mas Tequila.
Yes.
I mean,
Abo Wabo, baby.
That's right. Yeah, there's. It's not that I dislike Sammy Hagar. I just didn't like.
He's a little too Guy Fieri for me.
Thank you. I couldn't have said it better.
Yeah, he's a little too Jimmy Buffett, Guy Fieri.
Nah, ain't nothing wrong with Jimmy Buffett.
I like Jimmy, but he's got that same like.
Right. No. I know what you're
really
saying.
Bikerish or something, or like
he's beach.
There you go.
Yeah.
Like Florida. He just likes
he's
Florida.
beach.
Yeah.
And
he can't drive 55 at
no,
all.
Apparently not. But I don't know. I think for me what it was is I was used to Van Halen.
Oh, 100%.
And then you have Van Halen that comes out when the whole David Lee Roth thing just goes to hell in a handbag.
He's a dickbag anyway.
He's a douche.
God.
And you see he came out with new music?
Oh, yeah. He did a Joe Rogan episode, and I watched half of it.
And
even
I
Joe a couple times was like, oh, my God.
Yeah, he's certifiable.
Oh,
I mean, he some of the shit he talks
he just
about.
goes off these tangents, and
That sounds familiar.
No shit, right? I don't know the fuck.
But no, for me, it's just the sound that they made after that. Don't get me wrong. They had some good ones, but it wasn't the same.
No.
And it was a completely different band. I'm like,
well,
if you're gonna do that,
went
change
more with the electric sound with Sammy
big
Hagar
time.
too. Like they went into that synthy.
But I don't know if that was all Sammy. That I think
Not
that
all
a lot of that
no.
was just they were experimenting and they wanted to try something new, and now was their chance
and at
to do
the time,
so.
that was the height of technology.
But the writing was different.
Oh yeah,
the music that needed to be incorporated was different. So I don't blame him for doing that.
Was,
I just
we
didn't
don't really think about it, but like they started using way more music in cinema around the 70s.
That's
especially
true.
popular music, and so I would have to assume.
They
like
were shooting
Live
for
and
that.
Let Die, James Bond, the whole deal. That was written for the fucking movie.
Right.
So I think a lot of that probably went on where when you're producing
but that's
things.
Paul McCartney being genius.
Oh,
though,
of course.
You know?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think you just have to. A lot of those guys were probably thinking into that because they're thinking about revenue streams. Because they were thinking. Some of them were thinking about.
And
that
a lot of
stuff
those
at the
guys,
time.
like Paul McCartney, were solo artists at the time.
Oh,
So it was one of those where they're going, let me do this.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Because here's the thing too. Not only did I write the song for it, but I can also perform it on my tour.
Right.
So, and everybody knows it because everybody went and saw the movie, right?
Yep.
So it's a double whammy, two-edged sword. Yeah, that's right.
You got it. You got it right. Yeah. There's 1 and 2.
There's 2. Yeah.
Sharp sell.
Both sides. Both sides.
So I know the answer to this, but they don't. Rush. Give me your thoughts.
Oh, I'm gonna get hate emails.
No, you won't, because I like to bring this side of the opinion to the table. It's not talked about a lot.
Okay. I will say this. So I have to start from kind of the start. First hearing Rush, I remember when I was playing in a band, I was in my early 20s. And we were playing at a real popular bar here in town that doesn't even exist anymore, but it was the go-to, right? Everybody went there. The place was hopping all the time. We played there a couple of times. I remember going there, and there was a dude that was there who was a guitarist, and he loved Rush.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, he would tell you he lived and breathed Rush.
Oh, yeah.
He loved Rush.
2112, Neil fucking Peart.
And I'm just, well, he was a big Geddy Lee fan.
Oh, yeah.
So
love Geddy.
I was one of those where I'm like, okay, I'm a 21-year-old punk, and I'm kind of like, they suck.
Right.
And he's like, what? And I was like, dude, they blow, man. I said, they're no good. I said, granted, don't get me wrong, Neil Peart's amazing.
Oh, of course.
I said, but if you had that much shit to play with, I mean, you're
going to
get good.
Yeah.
You're going to find ways to make music.
Good
That's
Lord.
it. I said, you got to be given the opportunity. I said, I have a 5-piece kit. That's all Daddy can afford.
Right?
You
Some
know?
bitch.
And I didn't even pay for that kit. So it's one of those where I'm going, you give me 15 pieces, I'm going to make shit happen
I can make
too.
some shit work, yeah.
But taking into account, that was the 21-year-old kid that says you have no idea what the hell you're talking
of
about
course.
because you couldn't even hold a flame to that man.
Right.
You wouldn't even be a trail of smoke.
Oh,
He
yeah.
would wipe your ass. But the same thing goes with all three of them. They are
yeah.
insanely talented.
I don't think you can be in a trio and not all be that good either.
You have to.
The lower
to be
the
successful
piece
as
count
they've
is,
been,
yeah.
you can't
Look at the White
not.
Stripes, okay? There's your example. You know what I mean? Like the bare minimum.
Yeah. Dose.
You know Meg White's not really his sister.
It's his wife or his ex-wife.
She changed her name to be in the band. She's just a drummer. I just saw it in a
Well,
clip today.
I love her as a drummer.
Oh, she's great.
She's probably one of the
But
most backbone
I didn't
drummers
know
out
that their
there.
sibling thing was just a put on for the band.
I didn't know
never
that
knew
either.
that.
I'd heard
till
so
today.
many damn stories.
So did I.
It's
Everybody
his sister,
did.
It's his
They
wife.
grew up
They're
together
divorced.
doing this.
Yeah,
No.
I didn't even know. But
Yep, I saw that today. I was like, what the?
See, hopefully you learned something today on the show.
Yeah, hey.
But so I'll get to it. So you can give me yours.
hey,
So
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
sorry, I'm
No,
blabbing here.
send it.
Not a big fan of Getty's voice.
Yeah,
I think it's
I
too
understand.
shrieky. I think it's
understand
too. It's just something about.
Do
I
you
know
get the same thing
most
from Iron Maiden. Let me ask you that.
Yes,
Dad,
absolutely.
My mom's the same
Absolutely.
way. Dad loves them. Mom can't stand either.
absolutely love the band. Singing's just kind of
Yeah.
shit, you know. The thing I've learned as I got older to appreciate, and I actually started getting more appreciation for music and actually opening my brain a little bit rather than being no, they suck or I'm better or whatever, which is never ever true
Believe
about
me,
any
we've
of
all
them that
done
I've
it.
ever said I'm better than ever, which was the dumbest thing I've ever said in my life. I don't think I was trying to indicate I was better than Neil Peart. I was
Right.
just trying to say that Neil Peart has a lot of shit to play with, so Neil
yes.
gets to have fun. I was more pissed off
Yeah,
and jealous, I think.
We're
but-
all that age.
Yeah, of course. Exactly. And I'm not saying at 21 I didn't have a couple in the tank at that time either.
Oh, of
so
course. Yeah.
most likely there was a lot in the tank.
Yeah.
But I may say that the voice is a little shrieky, and I'm not a big fan
You're
of
not
it.
wrong at all.
But it starts to wear on you.
it does.
It starts to become norm.
I think once the talent of the music bleeds through a little bit, I start
Yes.
to make a little more of a
And I think once you hear it enough, and once
Oh,
you
yeah.
start getting that appreciation for the song,
yeah.
the aspects of how you criticize the lyrics,
Yes.
kind of goes away.
And I'll say this too, like if you listen to Rush songs, I mean really listen to the structure of the song, and you listen to the range that Lifeson's guitar is played at and Geddy Lee's voice, it does start to make sense.
Yep.
Because almost all his solo work is in that same falsetto range that he's singing in, and it's incredible to me when I start to that's why the bells work. Like it just
Yeah.
starts to you're like
And the interesting point is when I actually saw Geddy Lee on stage with 8-foot pedals, a keyboard in front of him, and
People
his
don't
bass,
realize he
and
plays
the microphone,
keyboard
and
with
he's
his
singing all of
damn
it.
toes.
Yeah, and I'm sitting here going, "What is this witchcraft?"
Yeah.
You know, and I'm going, "Well," and I'm starting to understand. Geddy got jealous that Pert had all this
yeah.
shit to play with, and he's like,
100%.
"I want something."
Yep. I need some toys.
Then you look over at Oh Boy,
Yep.
which by far I think
License.
one of the most underrated guitarists out
I've said
there
it forever.
by far.
Yes.
Wow.
He's never put in the list of shredders, and I haven't figured it out why. Because
That
he
dude's
is.
got
Oh my
chops.
goodness.
And it's one of those where then you take him and you throw in the bunch and you stir up the bag and you
Yeah.
get Rush.
Oh, dude.
And it's just like, I think at a younger age, it was easy to bitch about those things.
Of course.
And I think as I got older,
Well,
I
they're
understand
kinda
why the
goofy.
40-year-old
They're, like,
guy
kinda
at the
fucking-
bar was
Yeah.
in love with Rush.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I'm going,
Well, like when I watched, what was that one movie? That's My Boy, where he's
Yes.
got the Fiero with
Yes.
the fucking Rush logo
Yes.
on it. I'm like, that makes sense.
Yep.
That's that guy.
and I can appreciate the Trailer Park Boys side of
oh
things too,
my
once all
gosh!
that
Now
comes
that
out.
you've seen it, yes,
it all makes sense. I'm like, boys, I'm right there with you, man.
There's a clip, so we'll have to find it sometime and watch it on YouTube together. They did a studio session up there in Canada, like a legitimate studio session with Rush, and they brought Bubbles in, and he recorded Closer to the Heart in full studio with them.
I'm sure.
It's amazing.
Because Bubbles got some chops.
Dude.
Speaking of Bubbles,
Ugh.
I just watched a show that just came out with Woody Harrelson called Champions.
I heard about that. Is
You
it
should.
good?
You can. I'll let you watch it here because I bought
Yeah.
it. Don't
Hell yeah.
buy it
Bet.
because it's $20.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But Bubbles is his lawyer when he gets his DUI.
way.
Yeah.
I love Mike
Yeah.
Smith. He's so great.
He as soon as he starts talking, and I go, "That's Bubbles," and I
yeah,
start
that's
looking at him, I go,
familiar.
"Holy shit, he doesn't look anything
Well,
like
that
him, but it
happened
is
to me.
him."
You remember Archer?
Oh yeah.
So I watched Archer forever.
The Arby's commercials messed me up. to
Yes,
this day.
I know. It's fucked up, dude.
Yeah.
And then if you've ever seen Wet Hot American Summer, it'll really fuck you up. Like, because he's the can of food.
Yep.
But, wait, what did I say?
Archer.
Archer.
Yeah.
So I was watching Archer one day, and there's this episode, and they're on a train, and there is like, essentially like Murder on the Orient Express.
Yes, I remember. I know what episode you're talking about.
Fucking Canadian Mounties, and I keep hearing these guys talk. I'm like, I know these voices, and then I go to Google Trailer Park Boys. It's fucking Ricky and Julie, and I'm like, what the fuck?
Yep.
Dude,
it's great.
Canada's like that though. I feel like if you're from Canada,
they've got treasures,
like
man.
You're in a horde. Like there's a club. Like all those actors, Seth Rogen,
Ryan Reynolds,
Jason Sudeikis.
Yep.
All those guys are from Canada, and it's just so funny.
It's insane. They don't. So they probably do. I don't know enough about Canada, but they probably have something that you would call their Hollywood.
Yes, definitely.
I don't know if it's Quebec.
I think it's like Vancouver, BC. Is
okay,
like the hub
probably.
of
Okay,
most things.
there you go.
Yeah,
it's nuts how much talent,
like
acting and just like that comes out of there. And it seems like I could be dead because I don't know these people.
Yeah,
it seems like those people got a little bit more of their shit together. They're a
Well,
little bit more humble.
They're
They're a little bit more.
Canada's never had the turmoil we've had as far as like war goes and things like that. So yeah, they had a lot more time to focus on art. You could say, I would suppose, and so like
and their own shit. You know?
Yes, exactly. And really, which granted now it's going the completely other way, but the kids up there at the time probably did have a lot more opportunity to get in stuff like that.
And play hockey, eh?
Yeah, eh?
Which, by the way, I'd never say that to one of them. Oh boy,
no.
They kick out some beasts.
Oh, dude.
But okay, so what else you got?
Let's see here. Well, let's think of some other
things
we can talk about.
Well, we were talking about Van Halen, but
of
I mean,
course.
it's one of those things where I think I agree. They are a band that is just they're shrouded in classic.
Oh my goodness.
I mean, they're just.
You know, and as I'm looking at all of these bands in this big giant list I'm looking at, every one of them has one thing in common. And I mean it. Every single one that I'm looking at. And it's some form of keyboards in one way or another. They either had a synth.
Really?
They had some kind of fill in there that was filling these sounds. So I think that could be pinned as kind of one of the big instruments that made it into rock and roll at that time.
Well, when you look at yeah, because you think about it, disco was heavy on it, right?
Yes.
So,
which, I think that was rock and roll leaning into just strictly the electronic side, probably.
But you actually had a whole electronic subgenre in the 70s.
Which is weird, yes.
They had their own EDM back then.
Oh, they had, like, I saw a video of clubs over in Britain where there were these original 70s DJ, and it was the weirdest shit you ever heard, but
Euro
people
disco,
liked it.
Euro pop. Yep. It was very electronic.
Yeah, people in America don't understand, like, the rave scene even today over there. It's huge.
But you think about it, too, hip-hop was starting to get big.
Oh, yeah, big time. Yep.
You know, and they actually were pushing out stuff with synthesizers and all that shit. So
well, and especially like the, what were we talking about earlier, where sampling. Oh, my God, sampling started becoming even big then.
Yeah.
Especially in that hip-hop thing, because that's how you got that sound, essentially.
I'm still lover the Sugar Hill Gang.
Sugar Hill Gang's fucking awesome, bro. Are you kidding me? Chuck D.
Oh, yeah.
Way back.
But yeah, Grandmaster Flash.
Oh yeah,
too,
dude.
You know? And it was. I always said the hip hop I like is old school.
Me too.
So it's that 70s, 80s hip hop.
Yep.
No, I'm sorry. Even in the 90s.
I love 90s R&B hip hop. Oh my God.
When you had NWA that kind of came out and did their thing, they kind of revolutionized.
That's my mowing music to this day. I just listened to it the other day.
Good shit. But go ahead. So I think you're right. I think when you think about it, there isn't a band. When you look at that, you're right. There is at least. I'm thinking.
There's at least a song.
I said
maybe not even in the live production, but in the music.
Eagles. I don't remember. I go Desperado.
Yeah.
Shit.
Yeah. Yeah, man.
I can't do it. So
as I was going, I'm like, shit. Kansas. Yep. Styx. Oh God. Yes. Styx is another band we could talk about with their electronic stuff. There's organ in CCR for sure.
True. Yeah.
That's for sure.
Yeah, that's true.
Which the Doors were huge on bringing
big time.
that in.
Big
that
time.
was barely...
Do you think that was that psychedelic towards the end of that? They started kind of honing in on some of that?
I think they continued that psychedelic into the 70s probably. Oh. The Doors, yeah. They kind of like...
Well, yeah, but
hung that on.
71, that ground to a stop.
Oh, yeah. I'm not talking about just them themselves. I mean more like that kind of music.
Like people that were influenced.
Yeah, they fired that up a little bit.
Okay. Yeah.
Because then you had all these weirdos. Like, it seemed like every band had some kind of turtleneck playing 8 keyboards. You know what I mean? With some big old glasses with the tape on them. I don't know.
That's funny.
I think it was the AV Club got out early. Yes. And they're like, oh, you're in a band? We're in. That kind of thing. But then you also, so the other thing I guess we could talk about is the roots of metal showing up here. In the 70s, because it does. You've got Judas Priest shows up.
Yep.
You've got Black Sabbath, obviously. We talked about them. Deep Purple had a few tracks that were even considered more on the long lines of metal.
I think Smoke on the Water is kind of that pivotal. Everybody knew the riff.
Yeah,
you know?
man.
Most all metal guys
dude?
or rock guys know the riff.
Yep.
So.
There's a lot of that came out of there. And obviously, I mean,
I don't know. See, here's the thing. We've always talked about this, too. It's hard to dictate because you've got rock and then you've got metal. But there's two different things. I read an article today. It's interesting. There's a difference between rock and roll.
100%. Yeah, because rock and roll is more
50s,
like the Chuck Berry stuff.
It was 50s.
Yeah.
It was the startings. And then you go to rock because then you start, like we're talking about, you start making all these subgenres, right? I think metal is a subgenre of rock. So in turn, I think it's really difficult for some people that are writing articles or that are do these where they put bands in the subgenres that aren't obvious.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And they go, oh, yeah, that's a metal band. And I'm going...
I've heard that a lot. Like,
is it?
You know, top 100 greatest metal art, and a few of them make it through, and you're like...
Is it?
They're metal? Jethro Tull makes it on the metal lists every time. Every time Jethro Tull makes it on those metal lists.
From Aqualung?
Yeah.
Really?
Yep, he makes it on those lists. I've never seen one where Jethro Tull didn't show up for whatever reason.
I'd like someone to prove that one to
That's
me.
what I'm saying, because that's a stretch to me, but...
I mean, could be.
It's rebellious, sure. Metal.
I mean, maybe he had an album that was...
Well, that's what...
It was hardcore.
There's got to be something that was a little more spicy, but yeah.
Everybody puts Nugent in there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I'd put... He's metal. Stranglehold, that was definitely a little more like...
And you already said Judas Priest.
Yeah, they were the definition. To me, that's like out of the 70s, that's probably one of the like, this is what metal's going to look like coming up.
Yeah.
Judas Priest.
So where does Rush fall?
Prog. They're prog. They've always been listed under the prog.
You know how many
stuff.
people call them metal from 2112?
I could see that. Well, especially with the soloing stuff. Like that's
I think that's
kind of where it gets.
Rainbow?
Yeah, Rainbow's metal, for
Yeah.
sure. Which, they're funny, because it's like grandma metal or something. I don't know. It's like a little
It's like
lighter.
startup metal.
It's the exact opposite of Black Sabbath is what it
Yes.
is. It's
Yep.
like, which he was also in Black Sabbath, which is weird, but.
Yeah, right? Van
really.
Halen gets classified as metal, even though I would call it more rock. But then again, when you start getting into...
Hot for Teacher makes him metal, to me. That's really where the line is. Because that's a metal song, I feel like.
You really got me.
That's a metal song.
Kind of has a metal-ish vibe to it. Because you think about early metal.
Oh, yeah.
You're not talking about guys screaming and spitting blood and all the other bullshit that some people attribute
For me,
to
it's
metal.
more the style of playing than anything.
I think it's personally, I think it's riff.
Yeah, that's what I
mean. So I think it's riff choice.
Well, and they started incorporating like double bass and stuff when no one else was doing that.
Oh, that's
shit.
true.
That's kind of that might be the real breakthrough there with them, because that was something you just didn't see. Besides the guitar work, some of their drum stuff was unheard of, and you're like, whoa, what the fuck? I remember tons of people in those like VH1 documentaries talking about, you have no idea how many times I rewound Hot for Teacher trying to figure out what the fuck was going on. You're one of them.
And I still haven't figured it out.
No one has. It's
I mean,
like
I play it my own way.
A whole lot of love on guitar.
I
Everybody says they know how to play it. No one actually does.
I play it my own way, but it's not... When you start playing it, people know what it is. Exactly. So I'm like, success, you know.
Yeah, to me, if you can play something and someone immediately is like, oh, hey, that's that way, you're like, all right, I did it.
It's the only part I know.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. Late 70s. Yes, I had to look up some stuff because I'm drawing blanks.
Refreshing the list.
Scorpions get put on there.
Scorps are awesome. Fucking love the Scorpions.
And Motorhead.
Yep, Motorhead.
Obviously.
Perfect. Lemmy.
Kilmister.
Yeah. Kilmister, sorry.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Fast Eddie Clark.
Yep. Alice Cooper.
Of course.
Example.
Of course.
Later 70s, but 70s nonetheless.
Yes. That is by far... That's no shit.
Yep.
Milwaukee.
I like Feed My Frankenstein by him. That's a good
one. Oh,
one.
I do too.
Dokken came in at in 79.
Oh,
as well.
Yeah.
And Whitesnake in 78.
Okay,
I mean,
that
you got
fits.
these later bands. Quiet Riot was 73. They actually had a little bit of the 70s where they were playing stuff.
But really, if you actually think about it, a lot of these bands that we've talked about tonight that fit in rock at some point dipped their toes into metal.
I think again, that's another one
you know
of those
what I mean?
where like getting a piece of that pie.
Yeah,
we're gonna kind of see what we can do here.
The Guess Who with American Woman.
Yep. Montrose. Yeah, I forgot about them. That's where Sam Hagar fucking came from, man.
Yeah.
They're awesome.
Steppenwolf.
Steppenwolf. Oh, yeah.
Great song.
Well, Maiden came out in 75. I guess I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
I thought they were more later 70s.
I'll be darned.
And that's that's the line. You're not going to find a million in there because obviously that was still it really wasn't even known yet.
I think it was kind of being established,
It
right?
was. It was.
Yeah, here it is. Alice Cooper, Love It to Death as the album. And March, Jethro Tull, Aqualung.
Yep. Which, if you think of it, that's pretty heavy.
Yeah, and it did. That song was probably his banger.
Well, we're not putting in the scope of what was on the radio, so compared to what was playing, oh yeah,
that is a great point. Nazareth.
Yeah, 100%. Hair of the Dog, great song,
yes.
dude.
Son of a bitch.
I always remember because that was the one I never got faulted for saying the words.
Right.
Was like, it's
you
okay.
couldn't get in trouble.
Yep.
Apparently, Twisted Sister.
Yeah, they're
was in
metal
the 70s.
for sure. I didn't know they came out in the 70s.
I didn't either.
At all.
72.
Wow.
Newly formed in 72.
Okay, then that's saying something
wow.
right there.
Okay. All right.
Dee's awesome. Dee Snider's so cool.
The Kinks.
Yeah, Kinks are awesome.
Grand Funk Railroad was actually put in there in September of 72.
Solid.
I'm like, okay. And they got to go up against, like, Alice Cooper's School's Out.
Yeah.
Which, man. But apparently it was a Grand Funk called Phoenix.
Huh.
Yeah, it was an album they put out.
Okay.
Rock and Roll Soul was one of the songs that helped, I guess, push that classification.
Some people classify Helter Skelter by the Beatles as metal as well. That's been brought up in the past.
Yeah, okay. I think you're talking again like what we were saying. I think when you incorporate the harder guitar riff,
just like and I think metal. The problem is it's not even. I don't know if it's a genre or it's more about certain songs fitting in it, I guess, because there's a million
That's
bands
a good question.
that have rock songs. Like Nickelback, they have fucking metal songs.
Yeah,
they have
do.
legitimate.
Their
Dark
early
Horse,
shit
oh, my God.
Oh, yeah.
Full of metal songs. But then they have definite rock songs.
Creed.
Perfect example.
I mean, their first album was a hitter.
Yeah,
My Own Prison had some hardcore shit in it.
Oh, yeah. No, that's interesting. I never really thought about that.
Yeah. It gives you something to think about at least.
A little something to chew
now
on.
Now when I hear somebody say, well, they're a metal band, I'm like, what? And
yeah, like,
well, wait a minute.
Are they?
Wait a minute. George Thorogood.
Thorogood, yeah, definitely. And
yep.
the Destroyers. I mean, when you had a band back and you called the Destroyers, yeah, that counts.
That
counts for something.
That's, yes, ballsy.
I like to think that man got some women back in the day, you know?
Oh, probably.
He probably did well for himself.
Yeah, he
Old
probably
Georgie.
did. He
had a good voice, too. I just loved his voice.
He had that dirty blues.
It was the blue collar thing. Relatable as shit.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. He's bad to the bone. See what I did there? We've been doing it all night.
I love it. Can't get enough. Can't get enough of your love.
So I mean, there's so many. With that being said, I mean, you could essentially put any rock band in the 70s in the metal genre.
You really
at some
could.
point.
Yeah,
I mean, you really could.
I mean, look, even I'm looking at these other lists popping up, and like they're throwing Kansas on there, which
Boston's
is not
in there.
wrong. Kansas has some ripping. Boston has some ripping.
Yeah.
Guitar solos, man.
Queen got put in there.
Makes sense. What's that one? Queen's got one that's like definitely a little more metal, but I can't remember the name of it for the life of me. Dang it! Somebody was just talking to me about it the other day.
Foreigner.
Yeah, that's a stretch.
Yeah.
That is a stretch.
Wow.
Well, and so like,
yeah, it's, Meatloaf, Bat Out of Hell.
Yeah. Oh, Meatloaf. Yeah. Yeah. When did he really hit the scene?
That would have been his Bat Out of Hell came out in 77.
Okay.
So I think when you talk about it too, we've talked about music festivals in the past.
Yes.
70s didn't have a whole hell of a lot going on in music festivals.
That's what. Well, you never really hear about them. So
I think there was some subgenre music festivals.
Yeah.
You know, there was a lot of jazz stuff, some blues and stuff like that.
Well,
but
and people were probably touring, so it was like
That's
more of
you
like
had the stadium
spread
arena
out,
stuff.
I guess.
So that was technically the festival. If you went and saw
Yeah.
Boston for, it was 50,000 people or
Yeah,
40,000 people.
That's a very
that's
good
a festival.
point. I guess, yeah.
They had the New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Festival.
Oh yeah.
Duke Ellington.
Yep.
Yeah, that's kind of that. In 71, you had Glastonbury. That was Bowie's. Young Bowie.
Bowie came out in the 70s, yeah. I guess we forgot about him.
Yep. 73, the Astrodome Jazz Festival. So we had Ella Fitzgerald, Stevie Wonder, Aretha Franklin, Ray Charles.
What a lineup. Man.
Yeah.
There was some hitters.
Yeah, that would have been a good one to see. Summer Jam at Watkins Glen.
I've heard about Summer Jam
600,000 people.
Yeah, dude.
Yep, it's $10 a ticket.
Oh, man.
Allman Brothers, the band, Grateful Dead. That was probably the draw, honestly.
Yeah, there you go. There's the little leftover Woodstock.
That's right. Ozark Music Festival, in 74. That was 350,000. That was Aerosmith, America, the Eagles, Blue Oyster Cult, and Boz Scaggs. That would have been a good one.
Yeah.
The Schaefer Festival in 75. It was in Central Park. Bob Marley and the Wailers, Journey, and Aerosmith.
Ooh, yeah.
That would have been a good one, right?
That's the one they talk about in Dazed and Confused, that they're going to get tickets to see Journey and Aerosmith.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
There you go.
That's my whole summer, man. All right, all right.
All right. 76 in San Francisco, the Cool Jazz Festival. That would have been Marvin Gaye, Smokey Robinson, and the Staple Singers.
Smokey.
Yeah. Texas World Music Festival in 78. You're looking at 20,000 people for Journey, Hart, Van Halen, Nugent, Aerosmith, and Sammy Hagar.
Oh.
Halen played with Sammy Hagar.
That's fascinating.
Yeah. That would have been a show.
Oh, man. That's about as good as it gets right there.
And then this would have been cool, too, in 79, the world's greatest funk festival.
Ooh.
Parliament.
Yeah.
Let's see. The Brides of Funkenstein.
Oh, yeah.
Bootsy's Rubber Band.
Hell yeah.
Rick James.
Oh, I love Rick James.
Yeah. 65,000 people. 1275 to go.
Good. Oh, wow.
Yeah, right?
Wow.
So those were the 70s. That was the prominent ones that pop up.
Man.
There's probably a ton more, but
sure.
Prominence, that's what
I get it.
The intraweb tells me here, so
well, and that's like look, I think we could, really the core of this for us is that it's just the meat and potatoes. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, it's hard to debate it, right?
It can't be. I don't think it can be because there's not anybody out there trying to argue it. You know what I mean? It's one of those things that's so founded and solid.
Everybody kind of, I wouldn't say everybody, but I have yet to meet somebody that doesn't agree, right?
Well, and not only that, like it really set a precedent as to what a band is. Like, what is a band? Look at the 1970s. That's a band.
Yeah.
Pick one. That's a band.
But that's like we said when we first started the conversation. It defines classic rock.
Yep.
It's a classic rock band.
Absolutely.
And without it, we wouldn't have Freebird to yell at other bands.
Dude, yes.
And so many other things that fall right in that 70s. That's where we got it from type thing.
Yep.
But definitely one hell of a genre to just, you can't go wrong. You can set your radio dial if you have like XM on the 70s.
Yep.
If you can appreciate all music, it's a banger station.
Done deal.
But like, I always reference XM because that's kind of what I have.
That's what I have access to.
So you got like vinyl classics.
Oh, yeah.
Or classic rewind and all that.
Classic rewind's always good.
Those are just, their core comes from the 70s, you know?
Just that.
You jump into 80s and stuff like that, too, because the rewind's definitely more the 80s, and I think vinyl's
Which
like
now
the 70s.
that we're into the 2020s, like, we don't really have a choice. They're just blocking it all together. Listen, our local classic rock station the other night, they were playing Green Day, and I got offended. I'm like, you stop.
Remember what we
now.
talked about? And when it's 30,
oh, yeah,
they classify it. So,
yep.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. It'll just never be recreated. I know that. It's just,
Dude, there's shit that I was like getting ready to go into high school or just getting into high school that's going classic rock.
Yeah, bro.
That's
right?
like,
Yeah. Well, I sent you that thing about how Bowling for Soup song 1985, if it was written today, it'd be called 2023. It's the same distance.
Yeah.
It's sad.
Gosh. Oh, man. That makes your head blow up. That's just nuts.
Well, did you know that 1980 is closer to 1937 than it is to 2023?
You're just full of good news tonight, ain't you?
I went on one of those, like, hey, you want me to ruin your life things? And I'm like, oh, no.
Hold my beer. Let me show you how shit gets crazy right here.
Oh, dude, yeah. I don't know, though. Yeah, the 70s. Shout out to any of you listening that grew up in the peak of it. If you were 20 in 1975, I am so fucking envious of you. Oh, man.
No joke. If you were even old enough to actually appreciate music and then you were alive through the 70s or even a part of it, I envy you because holy Christ.
I mean, you could literally, any day of the week, you could have a new hit coming out that's just a
those
mind
folks
blower.
Got the end of the 70s, the mid-70s, the end of the 70s, and then they got the 80s to contest with, and then they were old enough and they were doing stuff in the 90s when I was like cutting teeth, not cutting teeth, but you know what I mean. I was playing then, and I'm going, this is the shit that I learned, and they're learning this stuff in the 70s.
Yep.
Ah, man, that would have been...
Oh, man, I'm telling you.
My brother was born in the 70s, and I was so pissed.
Yep. I always felt like I was
like
right
era. In the early 80s. I jumped in, I came out, and my brother was like, I got the 70s. I'm like, I'm going to smack you.
It's bullshit, man.
No. Big AC/DC guy.
Oh, yeah. See, how could you not be? I understand that through and through.
Megadeth. All that. Yeah.
Yeah.
He was definitely, I can say this without a doubt, he was those core guys.
Yeah.
He liked those core metal, and he meant metal, not what could be confused or construed as metal because they all played.
Had the big four back then.
That's where's his core.
Metallica, Megadeth, and I can't remember the other two.
Slayer
and Motorhead, I think, right? Or there's another one. Maybe it's Priest. I can't remember.
I think it was. I don't know if it was Judas Priest.
There's like a core.
Yeah, but those three were definitely. I remember those. Yeah, he is not so much the Slayer.
Yeah,
but
Slayer's a little. Yeah, they were a little.
That's like saying you're a huge Jackal fan. It's
right.
Just kind of like it's a niche, you know.
I don't like chainsaws that much.
No. That had to take some creativity.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Damn.
I mean, when you can't figure out what else to do with a guitar,
you know what I'm saying?
I got an idea.
Yeah, this chainsaw looks cool. Let's do it.
See if I can get a thing from Still, you know?
Oh, man. So I heard we have some fun little stuff from Miss Dawn.
She went nuts, man. She did like 5 pages of stuff, but she did say we couldn't do them all in one night.
We can't blow them all out in one.
So we're going to do 5 at a time.
Yes.
Because we're going to give some talking space.
Oh, yeah.
New rule, right?
Yeah, we'll give a little bit of fluff room.
I tried to find the ones that kind of related to some of the conversation we had tonight. So just the bands at least.
Oh, yeah, sure.
So interesting. Some of it's kind of like, yeah, okay, I could see that, or maybe you knew, but this one's about AC/DC. So there's several here, but I'm going to use this one. Bon Scott liked the Young Brothers, but thought they were too young and experienced to rock.
I heard that.
The Young Brothers replied with saying Scott was too damn old to rock, and after one jam session, they said, we're good.
Yep, done deal.
Yep, they found a new singer.
That's so awesome.
So, yeah, it was pretty, that's pretty cool.
Well, that's like their...
but you could still see that happening, right?
They're fucking... Yeah, oh, yeah. Their fucking cleaning lady's the one that came up with the name anyways because it was on a vacuum cleaner and it said AC/DC.
I didn't know that.
Well, here's what a lot of people don't know. Did you know that back in the day, AC/DC meant that you were either gay or queer or bisexual? That's what that meant.
No.
Yes, 100%.
Well,
especially
I could see
in
it.
the
You
UK
had to.
and Australia.
You had to use a slang term.
Well, and so when they came out, everybody thought they were like the Village People. That was a whole thing. They had a whole period. They had to fight through that. They're like, no.
I've heard something on that.
Yep.
I've heard something kind of on that, and I'll share. We'll do 6. I'll share one more. And you knew this, but Malcolm had to relearn parts before every show because of dementia.
Oh yeah.
And it was he had to. Yep, he had to relearn.
And then his son ended up taking over and jumping in.
Can you imagine having to? We started talking about this a little bit. We'll share this conversation we had on the phone today. Our text, like we keep saying, are legendary.
Yes.
There's strings that come on for on and stuff.
Oh, it's so great.
They just go too far sometimes. But we were talking about Santana's acid trip.
Yes. Oh my God.
Like we talked about the last one, and kind of Cody sent me a video of. So hey, you remember this? This was what and I'm listening to, and I'm like, yeah, you can tell he's higher than hell, but he's still playing the song and not missing. I'm like,
so
okay, wait a minute.
good.
How the hell does he remember the song when he's that
That's
high?
what I'm saying.
And I have troubles with just like sober as a bird.
Oh, yeah. Dude.
No, I forgot the part.
You could see him like look off, and he's like, but he's just singing just perfectly.
No,
not
I mean,
one
if
hiccup.
everything was improvised, different story.
Oh, totally.
But dude was nailing it.
Yep. Just he's
and
one
these
of
aren't
those.
easy songs. They
Oh,
didn't play.
Santana
they didn't
have
play just
one
three riff
easy
songs.
track. No.
You know what I mean?
Well, they had 3 different drummers. Dude.
I know, right?
Ah.
So that's what part of our joke was about.
Yeah,
that.
look up Santana play Woodstock, and boy, if you want to see. So Carlos talked about this on it was Kimmel or one of those late night shows, and he was 12 hours into an acid trip when they got called on to play that.
We
set,
talked about
and
that
was
in the
just-
last
yeah,
show with the
just in
psychedelics.
fucking space.
I can't even. And I said, he was on a newspaper-sized reel.
Yes.
Of acid sheets. Holy shit! Wow. I thought a hit would be. Let's not go there. That's dangerous.
I know, right?
We're doing sheets. And it's like lining up shots. Let's do this.
Send it.
Okay. I'm going to bring this up, even though everybody pretty much knows it since we're in the 70s. But, of course, the Staying Alive by Bee Gees was used in a study to train medical staff to perform CPR.
To this day, they still teach it in
do
nursing school.
It's at 104 beats per minute, and 100 to 200 chest compressions per minute are recommended by the British Heart Foundation.
It's just perfect.
Which is right there where it's supposed to be. And they still teach to hum.
Yep.
And
actually now the compressions have been found to be way more important than the breaths even.
They've actually gotten now the one I was taught, the breaths they're not even.
They're kind of secondary measure more or less.
They're essentially it's just compress and you don't stop. Just keep going. So
factoid. So you learned something.
Yep. Deep Purple was recognized by the Guinness Book of World Records as the world's loudest band.
Yes.
When in a concert in London, their sound reached 117 decibels.
Oh, yeah.
And there were quite a few audience members that were rendered unconscious.
Yes, which is great.
I mean, how rock star are you to go,
dude.
yeah, but when we were playing, people went unconscious.
All the knobs go to 11.
When you need just a skosh more.
Just a bit more. Why not make 10 the top? Well, these go to 11.
Because it's 11, mate. Eddie and Alex Van Halen's original band Mammoth had no PA system of their own, so they'd rent David Lee Roth's system for $50 a night.
Solid.
After years of Eddie singing lead vocals, they figured they would save money by letting Dave in the band.
That's so great.
Ta-da.
That makes about sense, too, yeah.
That's what I'm screaming.
Well, that's how Sabbath started. Ozzy's dad bought him a PA system, and he was the only guy in his whole area with a PA, so he just put an ad in the paper
That's how you
and
get
said,
banned.
have a PA looking for musicians, and boom, Black
You're
Sabbath.
In, phone ringing off the damn hook.
Yep. So crazy.
See, back in the day, that's when you'd put in a party line.
Oh, dude, for real, right? Yep.
Okay, what we got here? How about the Zepp?
Ooh, the Zepp.
Led Zeppelin was sued by the band Spirit for stealing the famous intro to Stairway to Heaven from its song Taurus.
Really?
Did not know that. I kind of want to look this up.
Yeah.
So it's a band called Spirit. And Taurus is the name of the song. Oh, look at that. Stairway to Heaven, Led Zeppelin. Imagine that. Oh, man. Wow. Okay. I'm still trying to plagiarism case over Led Zeppelin's Stairway to Heaven. It's alleged that Zeppelin took the opening notes to Stairway to Heaven from Spirit's song Taurus after Robert Plant saw Spirit perform in Birmingham in 1970. And that isn't the first time they've been kind of accused of. They've been accused of taking a lot of
stuff. There's been a couple, like the big ones like that ran through, which I'm assuming like that probably comes with the territory.
Yeah. The U.S. Supreme Court's declined to hear the case.
Love it.
Yeah, he said, Plant said he cannot recall the gig owing to his involvement in a serious car crash later that night that affected his memory.
Oh, shit.
Jimmy Page countered that the chord sequence had, quote, been around forever and that he had never heard Taurus before.
Okay.
There was a 6-day trial in 2016 where Zeppelin was cleared of plagiarism.
We just had this big one with Ed Sheeran and Marvin Gaye just get cleared up like a week ago.
Yeah.
I mean, that shit's still...
It's okay. So look, like we've talked to, at some point, there's gonna be obvious plagiarism, and there's gonna be a
totally accidental.
That sounds a lot like How many times have we been able to look up at a song and go? I mean, where Ed Sheeran even goes, "I can play you every pop song with 4 chords."
Yes, that's it.
Ever made.
Simple.
And they're like, "No, you can't." He goes, "Throw them out."
Watch, just say
and
anyone.
He did it, and it was like, okay, so. If you're gonna do that, 4 and they're majors, right?
EADG typically.
There you go. They're majors. This isn't something that's like, oh, but you put your finger here and your thumb goes wrapped around and it's something crazy and then you solo. No. It's just strumming,
just the roots.
So it's one of those where you go, how can you not now? If it's words or if it's a direct, if it's a direct thing, you took it, But if it's literally. The hard part about Stairway to Heaven is they're notes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
They're specific notes.
Yep.
Now, where I'm curious is I need to listen to the song because if it has the same chromatic font, you may have a bit of a problem.
Right.
But, it's one of those two where it is possible, absolutely possible, that 2 guys come up with damn close to the same thing.
Oh, absolutely,
right?
Without question. Yes.
If Jimmy was telling the truth, and he's kind of like, okay, that's great, but I've never heard of you.
Right. Exactly. Like,
I've never heard any of your work.
Yeah, it's not like he was just browsing through iTunes in 1970 and heard it.
Let's be honest, he's the one that played it. So
here's my thing. So let's say that happened.
Yeah.
What you're telling me is he's so perfect that he heard it one fucking time and was able to perfectly replicate it note for note, like to a T.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that's how many times have you been out and seen some random band and you to this day cannot remember one fucking riff they played from their original shit?
I keep saying Electric Hippopotamus. They were great. I can't remember one damn song.
I'm in the same boat.
I knew they were great.
All these shows I
loved it when I saw them.
I'm like, I remember the bands. I don't remember the songs.
Remember they were funky as hell, and I can't remember a damn song, which is regrettable.
But I think it's it could equally be a case of that. It's just like, hey.
Yep. The jury rejected the claim that Page and frontman Robert Plant weren't familiar with the song. It also featured in Page's sizable record collection, but found the 2 songs to be not intrinsically similar. So,
good enough.
Well, of course he'd have the damn record. He went and saw him, didn't he?
Well,
but once again, you're talking about a sizable collection.
Yeah.
We're talking a room with nothing but vinyl in it. So, I mean, come on.
Back in a time when that's what you did, yeah.
And then, I know that, and I don't know specifics here, but I know in the past they have been they've been really railed with some of the blues stuff on having stole a lot of blues music.
Oh, yes.
But I said, if that's the case, you want to go, you need to sue Elvis back to the
oh my God,
back to the Stone Age.
Sue him into the ground. Yeah,
I mean that guy took actual songs, not just
kind
of sounded like it, or we reinvented the song. It was the actual song. So I mean, I'm not saying that maybe Led Zeppelin didn't do that too. I don't know, but they have enough shit on their own that it's one of those. It's like, look, if they threw some riffs in there, it's a blues riff.
Yes,
unless you've owned the blues riff.
That's kind of what I'm saying.
I don't see where it is. Now, if it's intrinsical to your music, and you're the only one that's ever played that riff,
totally
different story, right? And that, I think, has been some of the issue with Zeppelin over time.
Yeah.
But to this day, there's never been, I don't know of, there may be, I don't know of a case where they were actually proven to have committed plagiarism
that I'm aware of
with their music. I mean, they've been accused countless times.
They didn't pull a Rob Van Winkle and rip off Queen by any means.
No.
Because he actually lost that.
Yeah. We always laugh about Vanilla Ice. There's that ting.
Ting.
That ting's different. It's different. It's so different. It's like, dude, it's the same. fucking song.
It is the same track, sir.
You dropped a ting in there so you could say it's
Just
different.
say it's
That's all
a
you did,
switch.
dude. Just take it. God. This is actually the last one I have, and I can dump into one more, two more if you want me to. But
that's fine. Whatever you want to do, buddy.
I don't know if this is true or not, but the woman said she had these. These are the kind of fact check stuff. David Bowie had an affair with Slash's mom.
Yeah, I knew about that.
I did not know that.
I heard about that. Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Oh yeah. Yeah,
Son
Bowie.
of a
I mean,
bitch.
he was with a lot of women.
I can believe that.
Yeah. Freddie was with a few too. I mean, you know.
Of course.
And then they were with each other, which I think that would have made the best power couple in history.
No shit, right?
Are you joking?
I don't know that they could have handled each other's drama though.
I know, right?
It's interesting with that because, yeah, I mean, you think about that too. I wonder why those two guys, I mean, as flashily flamboyant as they were, I think it was the fame and the success and the just draw to them.
Oh yeah,
that
definitely.
really kind of helped out with that.
Well, it
aspect.
oversaw bounds. Like, look at Rob Halford from Judas Priest. He has been out in the public gay through the 70s, and no one ever had the problem with them.
No.
And it's because Elton John, another example,
Yep.
came out in the 70s, gay guy, not a common place to be gay. Boy, nobody gave a shit.
Yeah, but he owned that shit.
And that's what it is, though.
That's what it takes.
I think in this world, if you're good at your craft, all that other shit ceases to matter. Like, it stops mattering
Well,
altogether.
I think in this world, it doesn't really matter what your sexual orientation is. It shouldn't.
God, no shit.
And it looks at one of those where it's like, who gives a shit? If the dude's gay, the dude's gay. If the gal's gay, the gal's gay.
Don't
Who
care.
cares?
If you can rip, you can rip. Like, I don't give two fucks.
Go for it.
That's what I'm saying, man. Fucking send it.
So
That's
live your life, do
crazy,
your
though.
thing, man.
Like, Slash, like, damn it, Mom. Come on.
I want to see what Slash's mom looks like.
I know.
That's what let me see if I can find that. Let's see.
I'm 100. When you see Slash's mom, you're gonna be a little surprised.
Oh, dude, I think it would be just kind of like, really? I want to see her when she was like young, though. No, it's Mom and Bowie. Yeah, there we go. Okay, she's a pretty lady, actually.
Oh, yeah.
She is a pretty lady. Is she a model?
Of some degree, I believe.
Wow. Oh, she died of lung cancer.
Yep.
That's horrible. Wow.
Crazy when worlds
Man.
collide. Hey, welcome to the jungle, am I right? God.
She's a pretty lady.
Well, it's the same thing with Axl Rose. He was doing it with Duff McKagan's girl during that album they shot and actually put a phone call where he was having sex with her on the phone on one of their albums, and he has to play that song. Can you imagine? Or the Fleetwood Mac shit, it's the same.
Yeah.
Can you imagine having to sing the song your girl wrote about you being a piece of shit, and it's your best hit? Oh, man.
I used to love her.
Oh, man.
Yep, I get it. Wow, that's interesting, though.
Just weird shit, dude. That's why I love rock.
Ola Hudson.
Yeah.
That's her name.
Pretty
Wow.
crazy, really.
There's a black and white of her that, I mean, she's gorgeous.
Oh, yeah. You can see why. I mean, you know.
Yeah. Even when she got older, I mean, not to say anything about when she got older, she's a pretty lady.
Oh, yeah.
Big old smile. I'll be damned.
Slash's mom.
Who'd have
Bowie.
thunk it, huh?
Not me. Well, that's like, so there's another one like that. It's not really
Wow.
music, but so did you know that there's like a really good chance that Woody Harrelson and Matthew McConaughey are brothers? Like, for real.
I can believe that.
So Woody Harrelson's dad had a relationship with Matthew McConaughey's mom.
I can believe
Okay.
that. They look.
Well, when she went into labor, Matthew McConaughey's dad refused to go to the hospital because he said straight up and down it was not his
mine.
child. They just talked about this on like a TV show lately, and I was like, now when you look at those two side by side and their mannerisms, you're like, oh,
There's something to this. You got some of that dad spunk.
Like,
That's right. Yeah.
And hey, folks, it was a wild time. There's a lot of stuff going on.
It was.
People did a lot of shit before the internet. That's all I'm saying.
That was the '60s. So.
Oh man.
I mean, shit happens.
Oh, absolutely. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I feel like we encompassed what I love about the 70s. Like, that's really,
Mm-hmm.
it's just the meat and potatoes.
It's our. We've said it's the core to
It's like the foundation.
Classic rock. I mean, it really is.
Well, and pretty much everything we talk about from here forward is going to reference back to a lot of these bands.
Oh, of course. I mean, you're going to look at, I mean, if you looked at probably anybody's influence that's a power band today, I bet you along the line somewhere in there, you're going to find a 70s core band that's in there.
Oh,
I mean, some of them nowadays, I think, are trying to get away from that.
Yeah.
Even if they were, they're trying to give credit to the smaller bands or bands that are less known, or bands that make absolutely no sense why they would be some of their inspiration to their music. It's like, what?
Oh, I know.
It's like, how the hell did that inspire? I mean, music is music for people.
Yeah,
you can't deny whatever it is, no matter what genre it is. I mean, shit, if Dolly Parton inspired you, good for you. Great.
Right.
There's a reason for that, right?
Love
it. But I didn't. That was subliminal, I think.
Got a Dolly t-shirt on,
y'all. But I mean, it's one of those where I don't think, I don't know. I don't think there's any other decade that I can think of that I would more likely have wanted to live in.
That's
just
the one.
For the music.
I've said it forever.
Just for the music.
And the cars, for that matter. I'll take both. Yeah. That was like the golden era.
I mean, I grew up in the 80s when shit was weird.
Yeah.
New wave took over.
That's the thing.
It was weird.
That was something that you had to deal with.
Don't get me wrong.
There's good shit that came out of it.
My 80s pop is through the charts.
Oh, yeah.
But, I mean, it's one of those where some of that new wave stuff was like, what the hell is going on?
What are we doing?
We want to talk about drug use in the 60s and 70s. I think it was predominantly being used in the 80s.
Oh, my God,
There was some stuff that was just...
Well, in the 80s, too, like that transition, there was a lot of different drugs showing up, too, yeah.
Big time.
Yep. That's going to be 80s.
80s is going to be fun. That'll probably be I don't know if it'll be our next one. We might shift a little bit.
We're doing some fillers in between and whatnot.
And since we were talking about Slash, the last one I'll say, did you know his hat, he never bought it, he shoplifted it?
Did he really?
I never knew the story of the hat. His iconic top hat, he shoplifted.
That's amazing.
And just put it on his head and walked out.
I wonder if there's like a period with Guns N' Roses where he didn't have the top hat, because I've only seen him with the hat.
I'm sure there was some early shit, but you know what? Who knows? Whenever he took that hat, hell, he could have been young.
Oh, yeah. Well, it made him immortal, so it was worth it.
But then again, he might have always had that character to him, that audacity, that out there. He has that character, just that charisma that he has.
Yeah, he's just altogether different.
But I could see after he had some success, maybe going into some place, grabbing a top hat, putting it on my head, and just walking the hell out. What are you going to do?
The guitarist for Skinner, he was the top hat dude back in the day. It was like a whole deal. And then you got Bonham with his bolo.
ZZ Top.
Yep, ZZ Top. Oh, my God, perfect example. Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, their suits, dude. Holy shit.
Them boys had some tailors now.
Yeah, well, they had one out of Dallas, Texas. He's this
makes
guy
sense.
that makes
he had to be out of
fancy
Texas.
Boots and shit.
Okay.
Because one of them rolled through on Pawn Stars last season, and Billy Gibbons went in there and talked to him about it, and he said, "This is the one I've been missing since the 70s. It was like the last piece of his collection. Now he has every suit he's ever had made." I was like, holy shit.
Oh, so it's the actual suit.
Yep.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
That's awesome.
Yeah, this girl's dad, he passed away, and he was like a roadie for them in the 70s, and they gifted the suit to him as like a gift, and Billy had been looking for it for years, trying to buy it back. Yeah.
Wow. That's
cool.
Awesome. Those, I will say that Billy has probably some of the most, for a Texas blues guy.
Oh, my God.
Man, he's got some fashion, doesn't he?
Yes.
Holy cow.
His whole, his vibe, and it's so slow, and
it must be around.
It's like just fucking
right,
chilling. Like it's just chilling music.
I actually saw a thing with him just the other night where he went and got on stage with Billy Joel.
Oh no shit, that'd be good.
And they played LaGrange.
Fucking tore it up.
Yeah, and those guys, it was Billy's band.
Yeah.
And oh man, you should have seen that. That was a different type of go for them. They were having fun, and Billy was just kind of sitting back and had a little grin on his face, and he was kind of okay,
Yeah, we're getting it done.
So it was. He let the guitar player that was Billy's do the soloing and everything.
Hell yeah.
So it was cool. It was a good one.
Fuck yeah,
it was good.
Man. That's what I like. I love those crossovers. It never gets old.
I have to say, I enjoy being able to use and utilize and abuse YouTube.
Oh my gosh, it's the best thing that ever happened
Shit we'd
to me.
never see to just.
I wouldn't know how to play guitar without it. Like when that came out,
that's a good
the
point.
Whole reason for
That's
me.
a damn
dude.
good point for sure.
Man.
Well, I think we're about at our wrap up
Yep.
for tonight.
We're grasping straws at this point, I believe. So we'll quit yakking you beautiful folks' ears off. But
Thank you for joining us.
We're
for,
glad to have you as always.
Another episode.
Yes, we're not. You know what? I don't even think we're going to tell you what we're going to do next because we're not quite sure. So it'll just be a freaking mystery for once.
Yeah.
I like that a little bit.
Yeah, some
We'll change of pace.
mystery.
Maybe do like a half a pick a band and something else or something. We don't know. Who knows? We'll figure something cool out.
Maybe we'll come up with something completely off the wall.
Yeah, maybe we'll just sit here and stare at you for 2 hours. Mm-hmm.
I'm sure that'll get a lot of attention. Make it a live video.
Oh
so
yeah, exactly.
everybody's
Just a
like,
straight feed. Yeah,
they're still there, man.
we got 3 million views on that feed. What the
We
hell?
talked about doing something too that could be fun. It's not music, but we've talked about it. Let us know what you guys think about this. So we actually talked about doing a video of a voiceover for
like
a movie.
some dubs, essentially.
Some dubs, yeah. We talk about our text messaging and all the crap we do with that. Some of the crap that comes out of our mouth when we're just messing around, it has me at least chuckling for.
There's steam behind it.
I mean, I get on a roll where I'm actually my mouth starts hurting because I'm laughing or I'm smiling and I can't.
Especially when we reference a movie and the memes start flying. That's god. It's like a good Will Ferrell movie. You better look out.
I remember when that Mystery Science Theater came out.
Yeah.
And you had the robots and the guy, and they'd make fun of old classics, you know?
Yes. Oh, man, that's an unlocked core memory. Holy
shit.
There
are some of that stuff kind of goes, because they're very intellectual people, obviously, that are doing the voices for those. They have, their jokes sometimes are just,
a little,
you gotta be in that headspace.
Right.
Some of them are just so obvious and just downright raunchy, or they're burns or whatever, and they're hilarious. The thing is, we have to find the right movie.
Yes, definitely.
So, here's what I'd like help from you folks.
Yes, please.
We're going to do this, and we're going to put it on the channel.
Oh, yeah.
We're going to have a lot of fun with it. What's the movie?
Yeah, we gotta have a movie.
What is the movie?
There's
all
so
right?
many good ones, too. Like,
there are.
You could just go anywhere with it.
I'd prefer, I don't know what you're kind of looking for, but probably something that's not a modern movie.
Right. It's got to be, that would help immediately.
Because we're going to know it.
Yeah, something well known.
We want to watch something that we may have seen it, maybe not, and not would be fine, but that that's either a silly movie or hell, even a serious movie.
Oh yeah, it'd be even funnier. Really,
you know.
Oh yeah.
Horror movies are recommended.
Yes.
Because
man,
those are so easy to do the voiceover
dude.
on,
Dude,
right? The dubs are easy on the horror movies.
You just totally downplay the whole situation.
Yeah,
it's great.
Yeah, exactly. So help us out with that.
Yes.
If you can think of anything,
the
classic horror movies are perfect. I know there's hundreds of them from those guys. I've got a couple in my head now that I'm going to run by Cody later, but just help us out with that if you would. And as always, like, subscribe,
comment,
join us, comment.
Hey, I got a shout out. I'm going to give a shout out to your dad because he's liked all our posts on our Facebook page. Thank you very much.
My dad did?
Yep.
Oh, shit, I got to get on.
Yeah, your dad added me as a friend a while back, which I was like, this feels like an honor.
I wonder if we
need
to take one down.
I know.
Trying to think of all this shit. I've talked about
there's
my dad a
Bruce.
bit. I've talked about my dad a bit.
So shout out to you, Bruce. We
my
appreciate
hero.
you listening.
My hero.
That's
Love
right.
Pop.
Oh,
yeah.
man.
All right. That's fantastic.
So good, dude.
The more of you, the better.
Oh, come on.
You know, we're gonna keep doing this.
Yeah. If not, we're doing it anyway. So get over it.
So
like,
come on
we're
down.
Here. Yeah.
As always, give us some topic ideas.
Yep.
Get us some
Anything
conversation.
You think of.
Yeah.
We'll do a whole damn episode if you want.
That's what I'm talking about.
You know
if we can get enough stuff, we'll just do an episode on comments and just answer questions or deep dive into something right while we're talking.
Tell us why you think we're stupid. Hell, I'll jump into that.
I've got a dozen
I've been
in my
trying
head
to tell,
right now.
I have been telling myself that for years. Yeah, heck. Practice
I've
for that.
always talked to myself, but I'm still not answering myself.
I know, and
so
that's
I'm
what
still
they say
okay.
is good.
I'm all right.
That's what's
still.
good. Yes.
Still good.
You're doing all right.
I'm doing okay. All right.
All right. We are out of here. I am Cody.
I'm Justin.
And this has been the Two Guys, One Track podcast.
Peace.
We will see you guys next time.